Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Overcast today, wet and cold. Damn, humidity, yucky out. Hey, Lucy, I hope you get to listen today. And hi, Mom, I hope she's listening. Is she listening at home? Because I think today's going to be a big intel. One of my biggest shows, I think, today. We got a 3-hour Mel video from last night. He had a special guest, but I just saw the title, so I didn't really know what's going on that video. So now we got one 20-minute Billy and a bunch of all the other stuff. Good stuff. Gonna be a busy afternoon and night because my games are on starting tonight. First game, Pistons play at 7, so but I'm gonna be doing my show so I'll watch it during the show. Starfire. I didn't normally write nothing on my. Normally I do, but today I did because there's so much stuff I'm going to be sharing today. And we thought the last metal video was the longest video. Well, today is going to be the longest. It's going to be 3 hours. But we're going to save that till towards the middle. I want to get a lot of intel out before we start that. I want to get the whole 3 hours in so I don't have to do it tonight. Matt, good. You made it. I hope you get to stay and listen the whole day. It's going to be the biggest show, I think, today. Have all your beverage and snacks all ready for you all day. Oh, man, we got 1 minute. 1 minute till the go time. So, yes, yucky day today. Wet, everything. Yep, got the popcorn and drink. Chico's laying on the bing bag. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Everybody, there's a lot of people at work at this hour, so middle of the day show. So there'll be all kinds of videos. But we're going to play a 6-minute clip. That one lady out of Dallas, we're going to play her.
New customers.
I'm Christina Wyo in Dallas, and here are top stories. East Village residents who gave Zoran Mamdani 70% of their votes are now suing him to stop his plans to move a homeless shelter into their neighborhood. Some precincts inside the East Village and nearby progressive pockets hit 70%, 80%, or even 90% for the mayor. It's the notorious Bellevue shelter, which is Manhattan's main homeless men's intake center. It houses many of the illegal migrants that came in during the Biden administration and has a history of violent incidents and even had a murder. In addition, multiple men who live at the shelter were charged with murder that they allegedly committed in other places around the city. Residents accuse Mamdani of rushing the move and skipping required public reviews while planning to drop hundreds of often criminal men into a quiet neighborhood already packed full of other social service facilities. Many of the men that show up at the shelter have been released from Rikers Island. Starting on May 1st, the single adult men's intake will move into the East Village. The city said the closure was an emergency, and Mamdani issued an executive order allowing it to skip normal public notice and review rules. Mamdani saying, quote, "My administration is focused on ensuring every New Yorker experiencing homelessness not only has access to shelter, but to spaces that are safe, humane, and truly livable." One East Village resident said, "I truly feel for these men, but should the lone intake facility for homeless men for the entire city be located on a tight residential block, I fear this rushed decision is jeopardizing both the safety of my neighbors and these men themselves." Local pastor Reverend Keith Gadsden told city officials, "None of you all can stop the drinking and the drugging and all lingering around here creating crimes and all kinds of stuff. Put it in your neighborhood," he said. Residents worry about more street loitering, drug use, crime, and safety risks in a dense residential area. A Manhattan judge temporarily blocked the May 1st opening and set a hearing for May 7th on whether the city's emergency order was proper. The Biden DOJ teamed up with the Southern Poverty Law Center, which was allegedly paying leaders in the KKK to fuel racism and division to weaponize civil rights enforcement against conservatives and whites, according to FOIA docs. Years of FOIA requests and court battles by American First Legal led to the release of thousands of pages of emails, meeting agendas, and internal memos that revealed the partnership between the Biden administration and the organization. SPLC was labeling everyday parents, faith leaders, conservatives, and student activists as hate groups in what we now know was a coordinated effort to demonize Republicans and their views, all while the SPLC was allegedly paying leaders of extremist groups like the KKK to stoke division, hatred, and violence. Officials say they did this to push the Biden administration and Democrats' racism agenda while making millions of dollars. Groups like Turning Point USA and Moms for Liberty say the SPLC's hate labels caused them to be harassed and created dangerous situations for members of the groups. They are calling for a full investigation, accountability, and an end to giving federal power to partisan, unelected outsiders. Okay, so according to the AFL, the FOIA documents prove the Biden DOJ gave the SPLC special early entry into federal civil rights work. The SPLC staff sat in on regular meetings, helped run parts of the process, and even joined coffee and Danish get-togethers with top DOJ officials. The SPLC is well known for smearing conservative groups like Moms for Liberty and Turning Point USA as hate groups alongside the KKK. Despite this, the Biden DOJ gave them early access to FBI hate crime data before it went public. SPLC staff used that data to draft DOJ talking points and even trained federal prosecutors. These facts come directly from the internal emails and schedules. The Biden DOJ invited the SPLC to join standing quarterly meetings of the Civil Rights Division. Then Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Kristen Clark, personally emailed the SPLC asking them to flag civil rights matters of concern that, quote, we should be tracking. At the DOJ's 2023 Hate Crime Symposium, an SPLC senior analyst trained more than 100 federal prosecutors. He equated viewpoint diversity with white nationalism. On September 9th of 2025, the SPLC's Hate Watch newsletter smeared Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA as dangerous extremists. One day later, Kirk was assassinated on a college campus by a radical leftist. The SPLC issued no apology and made no public condemnation of the murder. The Southern Poverty Law Center, which has been indicted on 11 counts, including wire fraud, is taking some heat for having more than $100 million in offshore accounts across the Cayman Islands, British Virgin Islands, and Bermuda. According to the group's 2014 and 15 tax documents, the SPLC has financial interests in entities in those offshore areas. In 2014 alone, the group reported sending more than $5.6 million in cash transfers to offshore corporations and partnerships. The SPLC admits to having a foreign financial account and lists almost $100 million in non-U.S. equity funds. When measured at net asset value, that number reaches more than $130 million. As of October 31st, the SPLC's endowment was over $738 million, and total net assets reached more than $829 million. Some of SPLC's top donors include George Soros, multiple grants over the years, JP Morgan Chase, George Clooney, and Amal Clooney, $1 million donated. Tim Cook from Apple, another $1 million. The MacArthur Foundation, Ford Foundation, and other major left-leaning foundations. That's what you need to know in Dallas. Christina Awayo.
Okay, Dallas news. Okay, we got the next two will be we'll get some short clips and then we'll get the first Billy Bean as 20 minutes or so. I'm gonna get some short clips in. Derek Johnson.
Laws and orders are there. It's all there. Between the NDAAs and between the NSPMs, I mean, between all these things. So why is Obama resurfacing all of a sudden? See, a lot of people say, well, he's been posting on it. No, you don't see him. Did you see him post that? No. Then people say, well, he's been in some interviews. No, it's all staged. That's staged.
Chico.
But all right, let's play devil's advocate for a moment. Why is he resurfacing? Why is he talking trash about President Trump all of a sudden, specifically about the big, beautiful bill? And, oh, our nation's crumbling and we got to save it. And, oh, we're losing it. Well, all of a sudden, so why hasn't, quote unquote, Obama been out in the streets? Hillary, Bill, George. Where'd Al Gore go? Where's John Kerry? Where'd they go? Where'd Mitt Romney go? Where'd all these people go? Where'd Jeb Bush go? Where did all of these people go? Where did the swamp go? Where are they? If President Trump could do rallies in 2021, 2022, 2023, which was not the election year, even though there's no rule on that or law on that, but no other president's ever done that, why isn't Obama, Bill, Hillary, George, Jeb, John Kerry, Mitt Romney, John Kasich, where are all these people? Why aren't they out with their delinquents on the street rallying their quote-unquote delinquents? Why aren't they out there? Why aren't they like pumping up their troops, what they call their troops? Why aren't they doing that? Where are they? Where physically are they? If they're free to roam, where are they? How come Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Hakeem Jeffries aren't posting on their social media to release the Epstein files?
That's true.
Nancy Pelosi, Drunk Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Hakeem Jeffries. Why didn't quote unquote Biden release the files?
Yeah, why?
If President Trump's name is on there, this is just logic. Anybody should be able to see logic. If you have a brain and IQ in that matter of your brain, you should be able to acknowledge this. Epstein started way back. He took a state charge in 2008. If you claim to be a Republican, if you claim to be a conservative, if you claim to be a patriot, if you claim to be a President Trump supporter, and you're trying to blame this on President Trump, you need deported. He took a state charge. He basically a plea deal in 2008. Where were you in 2008? He took a state deal in 2008. 2010 is when the Uranium One deal took place that President Trump says is the most scandalous scandal in United States history, Uranium One. 2010. Who was the president? Obama. Who was his vice president? Biden. Who was his Secretary of State? Hillary. Who also benefited from it with $500,000 speeches? Bill. Guess who was not president of Russia from 2008 to 2012? Putin. He was prime minister, but he wasn't the head.
This is a good one from there today.
For the chopping block. He's the one he can do what? Take a plea deal. July 16th, 2018, soccer ball would have been a capitulation. He took a plea deal. So him being smeared and all the other stuff going on with Russia and Ukraine, that's part of a plea deal. That's part of that because people are all Russia and hate Putin. But that's part of the plea deal. That's what you call a fall guy. But he took a plea deal. 2010, the bigger picture are the hit list by whom? Obama and Clinton. How many suicides? How many? It's over 120 quote-unquote suicides linked back to whom?
I got a photo of the list of all the names I want to share later on that, what he just said.
Hillary and Bill. And you people of little faith are whining and complaining and griping and fussing and questioning the man of the whole operation, outsider, who put his name, brand, image, and family up on it for the greatest, most biblical, monumental, historical operation on the man when laws and orders outline a military occupation, a military government exile, unconventional warfare, everything's under control. It's because you of little faith don't know what's going on by the man that you claim to support and the laws and orders of the military that you also claim to support. You don't know anything about it. Because if you did, you'd be grinning from ear to ear and flexing and pumped up because the swamp has been drained. They're getting everything else set up where we can maintain and sustain it. So not only did they drain it, not only did we have to go in operations to drain it, the child trafficking, the sex trafficking, the human trafficking in the tunnels all over the world. Our troops have been all over the world, not just ours, but all of our joint partners that you failed to mention or failed to see in your little whining and your complaining. You failed to see all this, all the National Guard, all the reserve components, all the world's militaries are hitting the subterraneans. All right, they're hitting the drug traffickers out the seas and everything like no other's been ever done before.
Okay, I got one more. I think this is a different one.
Never had a solid foundation, whether it be innocently or on purpose. They've never had a solid foundation. They didn't grow up like I did. And if they did and they went awry, then they really have some issues. But there's no reason why Republicans, conservatives, and people who call themselves patriots, there's no reason why they should be questioning President Trump or jumping ship whatsoever. You should be questioning who you're following. That's who you should question. So, for example, you know, it's a military operation, and laws and orders show that. And veterans, not all veterans know what's going on right now. They get a hall pass until they get presented all the laws and orders that are currently invoked. And most veterans will come on board when they see what all is in law currently invoked. And all these laws have been on paper for years, which we're going to get to. But it's all there. Now, whoever is out there saying that it's hogwash and it's baloney, no. This is a grift, and all these people are showing their IQ. One page. They've never read one line of one page of one publication. One publication alone. One defense budget, national defense authorization alone. 900 to 1,000 pages. And that's a defense budget. That is what, taxpayer dollars is doing or has been doing. Tariffs are going to do that now, but money aside for defense budget. So if you call that hogwash, baloney, and all this other stuff, then it's coming out of your pocket. Shouldn't you want to know about it? And that's just one tiny aspect of the whole picture. And then when stuff hits the fan, no one ever questions who turned the fan on. See, everybody wants to look at the stuff on the fan. That little 4-letter word I'm not going to try to say today. When it hits, everybody wants to, we got to do this. And why aren't you doing this, President Trump? And you wait until the fan is covered with poo before you started fighting. And guys and gals like, all the patriots and the real patriots, all the guys and gals of the patriot world are saying, well, where have you been? Welcome over, but hey, before you start questioning, jumping ship, persecuting, accusing, and all these other things and losing pay, you probably need to know the blueprint first. There's a plan in place. This group over here calls it BS and hogwash because they have two little IQs fighting for 4 chambers in their brain, and they won't slow down and go, look, there's a method to the madness. There's a method to it. Somebody's got to know what's going on. And I just happen to be one of those people. And the other people will say, well, why are you the one? How is it you're worried about stuff that doesn't matter. You're burning daylight. Just like John Wayne's quote, we're burning daylight. You're burning daylight when you're asking all the questions that don't even matter. What you should be going is, dang, this guy's got #1 best-selling books. It's chronological order. It's all the homework's been done for you. All of it. I did it for you. So it's kind of like when you were in school. A lot of you remember these things. I use them sometimes, depending on what I was cramming that week. But you have these little things called Cliff Notes that you could purchase, that someone like me went and read the book for you. All right. And then your teacher said, you got to summarize that chapter. And you're like, isn't it already summarized? Isn't that the whole point of a book? No, a summary. Do a summary of what happened in a chapter. So guys like me would go, hey, I got the summary right here, but guess what? You're going to pay for it because I did all the homework you didn't want to do. One thing to be a liberal.
Okay, we got 2 good ones from Gary J. The next one is a 4-minute one, Carol or Flying Eagles 9. So you guys help me out on if it's safe to play and not to play and all that. Thanks. Four minutes. Anybody see this? Is it? I don't think this is old.
The Trump card is being played. It's much simpler than you all realize. Some of you have gotten it right. Under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America, no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. Now, this amendment is something we've spoken about on multiple occasions on this show in the past. And if this is how President Trump is going to take it, well, I think that it's very simple and brilliant. Now, the poster continues, election fraud would be a serious felony under normal circumstances, but under an active state of war, it would be considered an act of treason. Think back regarding the Kavanaugh confirmation hearings. What are the requirements for a civilian to be tried for treason? We have been in a state of war since 2001. Pelosi and all other members of Congress are no longer members of Congress. They've forfeited their rights and offices by committing an act of treason. They are no longer lawful members of Congress thanks to Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. And they are now considered enemies of the Republic who have aided a foreign power in stealing that election, namely China. When you have committed an act of treason, you forfeit your rights as an American. You have no rights. Military law versus civil law, this is where it would come into play. Any evidence is
sure that-
admissible in a military tribunal court. So Pelosi's stolen laptop, along with
Okay,
the
we got
other
2
11
minutes.
stolen laptops, can be used in her military tribunal, along with everything else the bitch has done to lock her and the others away for good. History will show that Donald Trump tried every legal avenue to solve this crisis against our Constitution. It will show that all others failed to address this act of treason. He tried to resolve this peacefully, and he certainly has. Just take a look back at the last 4 years. Every single thing he's tried to do has been blocked by the courts, and he's been unable to get the resolution that we all know that we need as a country. His only recourse left was to use the military, but it will be a lawful use of the military, as these people have broken their oaths and committed treason and insurrection. And President Donald J. Trump is legally required to act on this because of his own oath to the Constitution to protect our republic from enemies, both foreign and domestic. And then we also have this post from our favorite Anon, which goes through the red markers. So we had red 1, POTUS Twitter removal. That has happened. Red 2, Central Communications blackout, continental United States. We had a small communications blackout, but nothing across the entire country. Red 3, classified movement of Pelosi or Pence. We did have that during the insurrection and the siege at the Capitol. And then red 4, movement of military assets, 10th Mountain, 1st Marine, CPSD Marine, QVIR, to central locations under guise of riot control. From what I've heard, the National Guard is the people who are in Washington, D.C., but I have seen reports that the 10th Mountain 1st Marine Division has in fact been moved out as well. Red 5, National Military ComCen, and then Red 6, Secretary of Defense, Instruct 1. Remember, we did get that notice from Chris Miller and the DOD. U.S. Secret Service, Castle Rock. There we go. Okay. I truly do believe that although this looks like we're going to lose to a lot of people, we've been told that only at the precipice can people find the will to change. And we're basically there at this point. I think this is going to get as close to January 20th as we possibly can get. But in the end, we're going to see that things are going to go down like this. This is the simplest way to do it. And truly, they have neglected their oath to the Constitution. They have committed treason, sedition, and crimes against humanity.
That's a good one, huh? Okay, we will be doing a few more, about 4 more short ones, and then we'll get to Billy Bean. Then after Billy Bean, we will start the long 3-hour marathon. So another half hour, we'll get Mel going here.
To all my friends and family out there who know what's really going on, to all my conspiracy theorist friends, yes, sometimes it's a curse and not always a blessing to be awake. Awakening is the most liberating, alienating, excruciating, empowering, lonely, confusing, freeing, frightening, expansive journey. If you find yourself struggling as you try to process all the insanity, you are not alone. No one talks about the darkness that accompanies awakening, or the grief, not only grieving the life and illusions you once had, but the realization that almost everything you thought you knew is a lie. The beliefs you held, the people you trusted, the principles you were taught all lives. Shattering illusions is rarely an enjoyable experience. There's a considerable amount of discomfort that comes with growth, and the grieving process doesn't stop there. With these newfound realizations, you then find yourself grieving all over again.
How's this one, you guys?
Grieving the loss of many relationships with people who just don't get it. Feeling alone, being ridiculed and ashamed, not only by the masses, but for many of you, your very own family and friends too. Feeling like you no longer have much in common with these people you are surrounded by. Struggling with carrying on bullshit, shallow conversations that lack substance with those who are still fast asleep. Even feeling disconnected from your entire support system because they can't see what you see. Some even grieve the loss of their ignorance because ignorance is bliss and reality is harsh. Awakening can be a lonely road, and you will find often yourself journeying alone. There is no way to sugarcoat it. Awakening to the realities of the world are brutal. It will have you running through the entire gamut of human emotions. You have to master the art of diving down the darkest rabbit holes only to come out and still function in daily life. That is a skill, people, that don't get talked about enough. Some of you are struggling with feeling disconnected from family and friends. It's as though they exist in another world. Please know you are not alone. And not only are you not alone, you have an entire tribe.
This one, you guys, pretty powerful here.
We may be separated by miles, but we are definitely deeply connected in purpose and spirit. God bless everyone.
Okay, a new guy there on Telegram, I think that was.
Let us find a way to rejoice in this turmoil that has been given to Earth's plane. Our turn now to override such disaster. For now we will wipe clean as the United States of America can renew its vows. God, wipe away this burden upon our land and bring your hands to bless her so her mighty power can replenish Earth's waters as she shall grow anew. My fellow Americans, this is now a time that is closer to re-electing our President of the United States of America. And with your help and your love, we must vote Donald Trump for another term because, my friends, he shall stand with us all and make this land great again. We must not be so naive to this propaganda of such deceitful lies. We must see this for what it is, a disguise to hinder Trump's win. God's truths are here to stand for the ground of our nation's pride and honor. But with each passing moment, another lie will arise. So hear me now. Listen to what I say, what God would say. Our land is in danger with left liberal thinkers, but God's love is not. We must all come together as God would want. He shall bless this nation's healing. He shall show the truths. So I ask all, drop your swords of such ego and let our nation prevail. Let her heal. And with each vote of truths, God's truths, our President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump, can continue his work and his love and his commitment once again for the USA. God bless. Let us find peace.
Okay, I don't know how old that one was. I think it's a new one. Okay, 3 minutes.
White House just put out a 21-page document exposing it all. So on April 8th, the White House Council of Economic Advisors dropped a 21-page paper modeling what happens if stablecoin yield is banned. Stablecoin yield is basically the interest you earn for holding a stablecoin offered by companies like Coinbase. That's what the banks are trying to completely stop, obviously because they want to control crypto. Their conclusion was that bank lending goes up by 2.1 billion. That's 0.02%. Basically nothing. It's smoke and mirrors. The banks basically told Congress yield-paying stablecoins would drain 6.6 trillion from the system. The White House just said the real number is like 0.2%. Then on April 13th, the ABA fired back, saying that the White House economists are studying the wrong question. The ABA is a 150-year-old banking lobby. It's basically a group that gets paid to push Congress to write rules in their favor. They're disrupting the framing rather than the math. They're saying that they're framing it the wrong way in their own favor. Then on April 14th, Coinbase's chief legal officer said the most respected economists in the government found nothing that shows rewards cause what we call deposit flight, meaning the money is moving from deposits. This is what I meant by 6.6 trillion. Facts are hard sometimes. This is what he said, quote. The same day, JP Morgan CFO Jeremy Barnum called stablecoins regulatory arbitrage, which is a fancy way of saying basically it's a loophole, while JP Morgan runs its own stablecoin. JPMD on Coinbase's blockchain base, okay? So he's calling it regulatory arbitrage, but he literally has his own version of it. I want you to listen to what I'm saying, okay? The banks are publicly pressuring Congress to ban yield, but their own CFOs are privately building their own stablecoins. The White House numbers do not match the warning, and Coinbase is about to get a national trust banking charter from the OCC, the federal agency that regulates national banks themselves. Coinbase gets the same federal banking status as big banks. This is not a consumer protection fight, okay? It's a fight to see who controls the next $6.6 trillion in deposits on stablecoin, and it's all on public record for everyone to look at. They're not putting it together, though. People are worried about short-term price action of cryptocurrency. Meanwhile, the richest possible people in America are all fighting for control over stablecoins and cryptocurrency right in front of your face. Do the research.
People know about that, so I don't know. Okay, a 6-minute one, and then we will see Billy.
Till 617 through 621, steamrolling their way through Lansing right now. And if you fall for the hype and the wallet at home when this rolls out, you are asking for an LED light bar in your rearview mirror, a ticket that you cannot fight. So today, guys, I'm going to be pulling back the curtain on the 2026 rollout that the Secretary of State wants you to ignore. So the real question is, why are they even doing this? If you ask the Secretary of State, they're going to tell you it's all about modernization. They want you to believe that because now that you have your credit cards sitting on your phone, your identity should be there as well. They are pitching this as a way that you can go buy some alcohol at Meijer or Kroger or the local liquor store and get into a bar in Royal Oak without ever having to pull out your wallet. But here's the reality. They're creating a solution to a problem that doesn't even exist, just so they can collect a little $4 fee. But more importantly, a little trackable piece of government software directly into your pocket and onto your phone. It's not just a $4 fee, guys. It's a $45 trap. And as of February 1st, 2026, the TSA has officially launched the Confirm ID program. If you show up to the Detroit Metro Airport, guys, without a physical real ID, you are now hit with a $45 verification fee just to get past security. And here's the kicker to boot on this, guys. This new digital ID program is not, and I repeat, is not a federal real ID. You're paying the state for an app that still leaves you at the mercy of a $45 fine at the airport gate. Now, real quick, guys, put some comments below. I just want to know, has anybody actually experienced this $45 fee at DTW or Flint Bishop Airport? Just leave it in the comments for me if you could. I'd love to know. Now, let's talk about the law. MCL section 257.311, that is the Michigan Vehicle Code, that says that you must always carry your license in your immediate possession while you are driving. Under these new bills, that law does not change. The Michigan Sheriff Association is actually actively fighting this for one big reason: liability. Executive Director Matt Saxton has made it clear cops don't want the legal headache of dropping and shattering your $1,000 iPhone on the side of the road. Beyond that, if a cop takes your phone into their cruiser to scan it, what else might they be seeing? Your notifications, your text messages, and your photos. And the sheriffs know that this is a Fourth Amendment nightmare that's totally waiting to happen. And who is actually holding your data? Let's think about this. Under Senate Bill 617, the Secretary of State can contract the system out to third-party vendors. That means your biometric data, your home address, and your driving history are all sitting in a private corporate cloud somewhere getting sold to insurance. And in September 2025, Michigan proposed new data broker laws because the breaches are hitting all-time highs. If a private company handles your ID and they get hacked, the state isn't the one who loses their identity. You are. And in 2026, data is more valuable than oil. And Michigan is giving yours to, the highest bidder. And guys, just think about how often you get something in the mail saying your information was compromised somewhere. Everything from your credit card companies to your last hospital visit, they've all had some type of data breach recently. So is this even a good idea to have third parties involved? Well, you can obviously tell, I think, no, they shouldn't. And guys, also, as a real estate professional, this is kind of where the rubber begins to meet the road. The road we're all hearing on this is the talk of the new digital closings. If you show up to a title company across the state right now with nothing more than your phone, you're not going to be closing on the house that day. And guys, keep in mind, we still have a huge title fraud issue as well. Notaries are bound by laws that require tangible credentials. Your phone is a glowing screen, not a legal document. title underwriters, they do not trust the validity of a pixelated image. If it's not good enough for a deed, why is it good enough for your identity at all? It just doesn't make any sense. Now, let's look at the big picture here, guys. In the United Kingdom and across the EU right now, they are already pushing for unified digital wallets by the end of 2026. There's a very dark side, guys, so put on the tinfoil hat. Unlike a piece of plastic, a digital ID can be switched off by the government with one little keystroke. If you don't comply with the new regulation, or you're caught in some type of terrible glitch in the system, you are instantly erased from society with no driving, no purchases, no identity. This isn't about convenience. It's about an on and off switch for your civil liberties. And guys, the hypocrisy in Lansing is rather staggering. This ID is explicitly banned from being used at polls for voting. If it isn't secure enough for a ballot, why is it supposedly secure enough for your entire life? And for my CPL holders and friends, guys, listen here, pay attention. There is no digital permit for if you carry without your plastic. You are risking a felony over a $4 convenience. A convenience app is not worth your Second Amendment rights. We all would agree to that. So, guys, my feeling on this is that it's going to probably get tied up in court the minute that they start pushing on it. So don't panic yet. You have time, but the verdict is clear. Do not download the app. Do not give them the $4. Why would you? And for the love of God, don't remove your plastic ID from your wallet. The system isn't ready. The cops don't even want it. And the law doesn't protect you. This is the Mint and Grip. Stay informed. Stay protected.
Okay, news out of Michigan. Okay, Billy Bean, 20-minute one, and then the 3-hour Mel video. And I'll be back at 7 tonight.
a.m. in Texas. Thanks for like, subscribe, and share. We have an unknown space source that is giving us a G2 geomagnetic storm with KP index of about 6. We'll cover that. And there was a shooter near the White House. We'll cover that. President Trump appears to be in a waiting posture with regard to Iran. We have UAE this morning with their military hitting Iran. We also have up in the air many refuelers and dozens of U.S. jets fighter jets up over the Middle East. So what's going on with that? So we're going to cover this space weather to begin with. And I find the information coming out disconcerting, to say the least. So what's going on with the Earth? And NASA saying they believe possibly some type of shock wave from space hit the Earth. That's currently giving us a G2 level with a KP index of 6 would give us auroras down to about the top 1/3 north of the north part of the U.S. So about this much for potential for auroras. Now, Ben Davidson puts out that this unexpected G2 level geomagnetic storm was unexpected, and it is not the result of a CME or sunspots or flares or solar wind. Now, I would agree with Ben Davidson of YouTube Space Weather site and other people working in this area. So we have the Earth, and the Earth from inside it generates a shield around the Earth. The electromagnetic energy comes out from the center of the Earth through the poles and then surrounds the Earth. Now, this has been going down in strength for decades. I've been looking at it since the 1990s. But now it appears, and I agree with Ben Davidson and other people, that we do appear to be in the process of a pole shift. This means the Earth's electromagnetic shield will go to zero. And the model I subscribe to says it will be quiet for about 30 minutes and then regenerate itself with a pole flip. In other words, on the compass where we see North Pole polarity, we will see it.
Girl, giving out your bank deeds. Don't do it. Paying bills straight from your bank and lead hackers.
Now in the South, there will be a shift, a shifting, it's called pole shift, a shifting of the Earth's magnetic poles. South strength pole will now show on our compass as being in the north, and so on. What I find really disconcerting and somewhat should lead us to a position of vigilance is that it's taking less and less effects from the sun to impact the Earth in terms of geomagnetic storms. The geomagnetic storms then affect our human health, our, both physically and mentally, and is disruptive to communication systems on the Earth, and electric power grid, and so on. Now, I find this information today to be jarring, in that NASA is saying this shock wave from space that's causing the G2 geomagnetic storm today has an unknown source. Apparently, the U.S. government, NASA, NOAA, don't want to put out that it's because we do have an ongoing pole shift, and we are seeing, this is an indicator to me, that there has been a much more dramatic decrease in the Earth's electromagnetic shield. So that's going on. It's a great time to prep, for sure. And we have this, Ben Davidson's site, Space Weather YouTube, also puts out a paper that's talking about a correlation and new information regarding the U.S. West Coast, the Cascadia. So we have the West Coast, we have the Cascadia in this area. In California, we have the San Andreas fault line. So new information is coming out about a connection between these two, and that we can in the future, if we see something big going on in Cascadia, we can also expect something big to go on in California in terms of earthquake activity. And we have this. We had a shooting near the White House yesterday. Now, the information coming out, I find mystifying. So it appears at the White House, we do have Secret Service who are uniformed. It appears now that we have an outer perimeter, maybe a quarter of a mile from the White House, with plainclothes Secret Service. All they do is walk around in, ordinary clothes. And they are trained to identify, and I have no doubt they also probably have some type of devices that could detect guns on other individuals. And so yesterday they saw a man in the outer perimeter that they identified as having a gun. They then called the uniformed Secret Service agents out there. And then there was some type of interaction. The unidentified man with the gun then fired toward Secret Service. Secret Service then returned fire and hit him. He was then taken to a hospital. There is no information on his identity nor his condition. It was also put forth by Mr. Quinn, I believe, who spoke on behalf of the Secret Service yesterday, that it's possible the shooter also, while he was firing at Secret Service, may also have hit a juvenile. I'm taking this to mean like a teenager somewhere in the area. But today, there's no information being put out about a young person being hit, nor is there details about the shooter.
Artisanal bread, buns, and rolls. We're made for this.
Meet One Track Jack. He's a credit wrecker. He doesn't know that by focusing on one type of credit.
So that happened yesterday.
12 minutes.
My take on this is it was a setup to bring the Secret Service out and give potential bad guys more information on how the White House is protected. So that's going on. From Joshua Phillips with Crossroads, we have now information. I've been putting forth that Canada is aligning itself with the CCP. And now we see South Korea doing the same. I had also put out information about South Korea aligning with the CCP some time ago. We do know the U.S. military has many bases in South Korea with the purpose of protecting South Korea from North Korea. Well, North Korea is also aligned with the CCP. So if South Korea also aligns with the CCP, it doesn't appear that the U.S. military is needed in South Korea. So that's going on. Plus, we have a new division in the DOJ to identify fraud. So far, they've identified billions, $230 billion worth of fraud, mostly in Minnesota daycare and California hospice care. So that's going on. We have this from Ward Carroll.
That's a lot of money.
So many people believe that it appears Iran broke the ceasefire. We had a presser this morning by Secretary of War Hegseth and General Kane, head of the Joint Chiefs. General Kane said that while it appears Iran has broken the ceasefire, what Iran did yesterday by hitting UAE doesn't come up to the threshold of the U.S. military recognizing a ceasefire and reigniting hostilities against Iran. General Kane said, someone asking what is the threshold, and General Kane implied that the threshold is determined by President Trump. So far, and we know that President Trump initiated Project Freedom. Iran is also trying to say that Iran hit U.S. Military ships, and the U.S. military says it never happened. And we have this, that the Ford carrier strike group, after an 11-month new record-setting deployment, is leaving the Middle East. That leaves the Bush and Lincoln carrier groups in place. We have this, that yesterday the U.S. military did take down 6 Iranian speedboats. that's being put forth by the U.S. military. CENTCOM is verifying that. CENTCOM, also in the presser this morning, said Iran has not hit any U.S. ships, even though they say they have. And the U.S. we would wonder if we'll see the U.S. military taking down more Iranian speedboats today. The U.S. military is in a 24/7 surveillance posture over the Middle East, using both land and sea assets. The U.S. is ready, locked and loaded, ready to resume combat if ordered by President Trump. And we have this. So yesterday, Iran hit UAE, I think up to 5 times, and they also hit Oman's port. The reason Iran is doing that is because UAE and Oman can ship out oil because they're below the Strait of Hormuz. And we're hearing today, and yesterday was being put out by U.S. intel that the UAE was contemplating a declaration of war against Iran. That was May 4 yesterday. Today, May 5, we do see the UAE using Mirage fighter jets to hit Iran. They have hit a petrochemical facility in Bandar Abbas, Iran. They have also hit Iran's Qushm Island. And the UAE is using fighter jets and drones to hit Iran. And there's a high possibility, according to U.S. intel,
5 minutes.
that the U.S. military may be aiding UAE today in its hits on Iran, possibly acting as backup. We have this from Salem, what's it was shipping. More information about the cruise ship Hondius. Now it appears that this cruise ship has been on a cruise since March. Went down to South America, down to Antarctica, and now it has come back up to Cape Verde, an island off of Africa. So now with this new information of the length of the cruise, we're hearing that 3 to 4 deaths on that cruise ship by the extremely rare hantavirus, and also up to 8 people infected. My question with all of this is about the infection spread from an extremely rare virus. Hantavirus comes from dried saliva, urine, feces of mice or rats. And then it dries, it puts particles in the air. Then for the human to contract it, they have to breathe it in over a certain period of time. And typically, the person who becomes sick with it, maybe has a compromised immune system or age. And we're hearing 2 of the people who have passed away. The husband was 70, the wife 69. They're from the Netherlands. We're hearing this morning that a German man had been taken off the ship and went to a hospital in Johannesburg. He passed away this morning. The mortality rate for hantavirus is 35 to 40%. The question I have in my mind is how these people became exposed to the dried saliva, urine, feces of mice on this ship. Now, Sal M says it's not unusual for mice and rats. A ship goes into a port. These rats along the dock will come up the moor lines. The ship puts some kind of trap there to keep the rats off the ship. This is a luxury liner. All these people paid $16,000 to $25,000 for this cruise. So, to me, it seems very strange that we have this extremely rare hantavirus taking place on this cruise ship. Now, Sal M puts out that according to maritime law and WHO and so on, that the people who are now being held on the ship and are not being allowed by the local government to leave the ship and go on land and seek medical care. Sal M puts forth, that really technically violates many laws, but we'll see what comes. And we have this. We have more intel today, U.S. intel today, Tuesday. Reports are over the Middle East that we have U.S. military refuelers up 22 that could support 45 to 110 U.S. military fighter jets. They're currently in the sky over the Middle East. And U.S. intel puts forth they're either prepping for an imminent strike or they're simply doing a simulation, and that the U.S. military did the same thing yesterday. Possibly this is to get Iran used to seeing the fighter jets up and not hitting Iran, and then one day they do hit. Element of surprise. But we're also hearing that this morning we had a U.S. refueler apparently crash in the Persian Gulf. The plane gave out an emergency call, but never made it to the U.S. military base in Qatar. So it's good to be in prayer for America, President Trump, the U.S. military, and world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
Hello? Whoa. Mama.
All right, the first Billy Bean. So I'm going to show the list of all the names of the Clintons thing there, and then sit back and enjoy the 3-hour show. It should be over by 5 o'clock, and I'll take a break, come back at 7. This will be the longest one, I think. So do you guys remember this one here? I'll see if I can bring it up more. There's the top part. Oh. The bottom part there, I can't get up. You should be able to see the bottom part. So they got 47, the number 47 again. All right, you guys, time for big video.
Hi, Mel. Thanks for joining us tonight on
May the force be with you. And truly,
You remembered,
tonight, I think
girlfriend.
it's going to need a day with all of us.
It certainly is.
Like you said, you've been over the target last night. I'm sure we're going to be over many targets tonight. And if that's the case, that they're watching us, they're either going to be laughing and doing a thumbs up, or they're going to say, oh, hell no, we can't let this out yet. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to use how Mel says it. If for some reason that the chat goes off the air, just come back. We'll get it on as soon as we can. If Mel starts banding, you can't hear her. We'll do the best that we can to get through that. You never know what's going to happen. It's exciting, isn't it? So with that being said, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Mel, take it away.
No worries. Okay, well, I'm going to share some news specifically out of, Fee, you're going to have to mute yourself, honey. That's it. Thank you, doll. I'm going to share some news out of New Zealand, and I'm only going to use New Zealand as a base so that we all understand that this is actually global. And when I mean global, we often talk about things such as the Republic, the US Republic, and this news that came out of New Zealand was very, very exciting. So we'll start the show, and hello to JT as well, Mr. JT. Okay, so out of New Zealand, let's have a look at what's happening over there. It was really interesting that we touched on orbs and things like that. And as I said, some orbs are created to fasten up the rate of frequencies. And this is one that occurred over New Zealand for the next 2 weeks. This rare comet is flashing through New Zealand skies before it disappears for 170,000 years. Oh my gosh, you can't make this stuff up, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you. 170,000 years. It's probably going to be the last comet that you ever see. Oh, man-made comet, I should say. But what was very, very interesting about this, it talks about this blue-green orb. I'm pretty sure they were putting this out as a com for me. And the smuggy tail comet known as, now this is what, they haven't actually named the comet, but this is what we do with numbers. C/, which means it was created in 2025. R3. Now, this tells me, is it actually an orb or is it in orbit to bring down the energies and frequencies for New Zealand to create their quantum system? Because R3 is R3 Cordia, which is a network. It's a quantum network. It then says that it's C/2025 R3 Pan, P-A-N, STARRS, stars with a double R. We've heard a little bit about Renegade just recently, but just throwing that one out there as well. So very interesting how we were talking about orbs, 170,000, R3 Cordia. As I said, we've seen this massive increase of frequencies. We're feeling it as beings as well. And these frequencies are coming in all sorts of shapes and forms. So I thought that one was quite relevant considering we were touching on orbs with Independent Thinker in that last week, or what may have even been Sizzling Sunday. I've lost track of days. We also need to keep an eye on our telecommunications. Although this one is also out of New Zealand, please understand that here in Australia, I shouldn't say here in Australia, but in Australia, the telecommunications, that being Telstra, are actually operating the new medical platform. Interesting, isn't it? But in New Zealand, they're using Vodafone. And this new ecosystem in New Zealand is talking about the new digital innovation. Now, they're talking about application programming interface. The gateways and the frameworks to this particular one that they're using in New Zealand is also relevant because every country across the world they've utilised certain companies, certain telecommunications. So if you're sitting in a country somewhere across this world and you think nothing is happening in your country, think again, because they are happening across the countries. This Vodafone one in New Zealand talks about how it's going to simplify access to networks, intelligence, the collaboration set to expand
3 hours.
application developments across sectors, including financial services. That is adding value to your financial services, your banking, your quantum apps, your e-commerce, media and digital platforms to reduce fraud, etc., etc., etc. If you're wondering about free energy and is it still coming, is it still happening, what's happening in free energy? There was an article that came out of New Zealand again. Franklin WH launched a new battery pack for new homes. But it wasn't the battery pack that I was actually concerned about, because we will talk about the generators that you're going to see displaced across many countries. And these generators are what we call water sun, which were built a lot of them were built in India, believe it or not. And this is to take the energy from those orbs and those rods that we were talking about or have touched on, and they're going to store that energy in these generators, and then eventually, of course, it's going to be through the crystallized crystals that we see in our grounds and things like that as well. But what was more important about this particular article was that the fact that the policies have changed according to New Zealand on the 1st of May. May the force be with you. But New Zealand also signed a deal with Singapore, and they talk about things such as essential goods and services. Oh my gosh, did I read through that one? This was to actually state that New Zealand, anyone going through Singapore, is saying that you are now connected to your monetary authority in Singapore, which means that New Zealand has switched over to the to the quantum financial system, or the quantum system. So get very excited if you're in New Zealand as well. We talked about the regional councils in New Zealand. Again, this is still relevant for many, many countries across the world. Of course, in the United States, they already have counties. Well, we have councils that will be converted to counties. But in New Zealand, this is an example of what I say, this is global. The regional councillors expect a short stay to execute this week. Execution this week? Who's going to get executed? Oh, I'm waiting for that. But anyway, the announcement, as the government is supporting some key regions to fast-track district and regional mergers. A lot of these councils are now merging, and they will merge obviously into counties. And of course, they are fighting for life over there in New Zealand because they think nothing is happening because they're so far away. But their tax system is also under review. We're also seeing many elections across. I did get some word out of Iraq as well. I can confirm that they are going to complete their parliament by Friday or on Friday. I think it's going to be by Friday because Friday's normally their day. They go half a day and they go into rest. So I'm expecting Thursday to be a boom shakalaka day. We will wait and see because I know that there was some other comms that came out from other gurus. But we will wait and see what comes out of Iraq on Thursday. I'm expecting late Thursday night. So we'll get it. We'll see. Critical minerals. This is across the board. We talked pre-show, just before we started hitting record. We were talking about the gold that was hidden. And, of course, Zimbabwe is one of the biggest hoarders of gold. Don't forget New Zealand. Again, as I said, although this is news out of New Zealand, it is happening everywhere across the world. But critical mineral discussions are on the table in New Zealand. Never before have we talked about critical minerals out of New Zealand. But this shows that they are avoiding the government treaties. That's also part of that changeover. So when you start seeing things in your part of the world about government treaties, know that these are old treaties that have been created and established. So this tells me that even in New Zealand, there is things that are changing and altering. You just have to look at this from a different perspective. Whilst waiting for this US-led minerals trading coalition with allied nations. If that doesn't reassure people by now that New Zealand is also, as well as Canada, because Canadians often think they're left out as well, that you are part of the US Republic. So get very, very excited. What I did want to quickly touch on today, this is in addition to the late Monday mayhem / sizzling Sunday. Let's talk about the advancements in steelworks and things like that as well. A lot of these very rare earth critical minerals out of New Zealand are going to advance technologies such as steel making. Well, I talked to my boys over in Malaysia and I was explaining to them regarding the aluminium from bauxite mining, the transition using nanoparticles, aluminium is going to be as strong as steel. So when they talk about these critical rare earth minerals in New Zealand, it's also advancing many, many opportunities in that country. So also, of course, in the electronics, the renewable energy infrastructure, and so forth and so forth. What was very, very interesting, I'm going to just finish up the news and then we can go straight into Q&A. But this is to get your juices flowing and to get those questions triggered. A new report on their freight over in New Zealand. Now, this one was quite interesting. In fact, it was a brilliant article. I've just sent it through to my admin, Love Trumpy, to repost it. This particular article about the freight sector comes in very, very important and at a very important time. Of course, we saw the King Charles dilemmas, blah, 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 but in New Zealand could significantly reduce their fuel reserves by expanding their rail transport. You should see in many, many countries across the globe, including places like India and Vietnam, they are very much focused on their rail transport. Why is that important? They're going to use the fuel as a cover story, rah, 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 whatever. But this is to do with the new maritime laws or the Maritime Union. And in New Zealand, this particular article does talk about their Maritime Union. But it's been restructured because they are selecting a committee inquiry into their ports. And I tell you what, the waters in New Zealand are extremely deep. These ports and maritime sectors are being upgraded at the moment in New Zealand. Now, remind yourselves when you see these articles out of whether they're in New Zealand or Vietnam, the job is already done. So rest assured that if you keep thinking that they're kicking the can down the road, they're not, ladies and gentlemen. They have now officially stopped kicking the can and we're going to start seeing some action. So focus on the action, action, action. And with that being said, let's get into the questions. I know that Mountaintop, I believe you were one of the first that lifted your mic. Do you have a question to start the show? Oh, Vicky's going to start the show. Go for it, Vicky.
Hi. Love Mel. I love the many faces of Mel. They're great. Mel. Anyways, I was wondering if you know what's going to happen with schools. Like, are they going to be going back to school next year or what's going to happen?
Ooh, schools. That's awesome. That's a very good question, Vicky. Let's talk about quantum education. We've spoken quite a lot about this in South Africa, and I believe my understanding is that it will take a couple of years before they don't go back to school. But I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But the school structure is going to be from 8 years of age. Oh, no, they just froze me. I just saw you freezing me, you little turds. Anyway, schools will be changing. Your child is going to go to school from the age of, I believe, 8 to 15. and then they will have the opportunity to go on and do their master's degree, whether that be in military, going on to uni, to tap in. Quantum education is going to be very, very different. They actually, if you see the beautiful little star seeds that we are now creating, we see many videos, of course, on TikTok about these beautiful children who have just can see the orbs, they can see all these things. They're going to be tapping into those energies, so to speak, in a good way. And those are the children that will be leading us into, of course, a greater big world. So my understanding is, how long does that take is anyone's guess. I would say it would take another couple of years, which sounds like a lot, but it's not. But my understanding is children in the new quantum system age from 8 to 15, that's when they'll be at school. Of course, schooling will be completely different. In fact, I should relink the ones that we found in Malaysia. So when I was doing my Malaysia group the other day, we actually looked at their quantum education system and how much that has changed. So I will repost that, Vic, so that you can all look for that in your own country as well. So look up quantum education in your country, and you should start to see some very interesting new educational programs that are coming out. So Vicky, I will post those as well. So, but yeah, so hopefully that helps.
It does help. The one thing I was thinking of was maybe during the interim of that 2 years, I was thinking of maybe buying a school with my money for humanitarian and having a school where they learn gardening and cooking and baking and not necessarily math and all that, but just how to common sense stuff and how to do it, just to get ahead of the game. So that's one of the things I was thinking of, maybe would be a good humanitarian thing to do.
Oh, 100%. I mean, this isn't a humanitarian show, isn't it? So absolutely, Vicky, and I think people will definitely grasp onto that. I was actually touching on this the other day. I've known of this since 1969, all of these things. And when we originally spoke to those in the know at the time regarding humanitarian projects, they always said to us, and I should remind myself every day, that if you looked after yourself first, and then you looked after your family, and then you look after your community, and that's all that requirements were for the humanitarian projects. If everyone did that, then the world would be a much better place. So Vicky, appreciate you muchly. That's an awesome project, and thanks for sharing. So very good. So All for Truth, how are you?
Well, how are you?
I'm awesome. Twice in a week. Oh, this is people are going to start talking about you and I.
Well, I am an identical twin, so there you go.
Oh, absolutely. What can we say? So yeah.
I just have a little bit of information, and I want you to tell me what your thoughts are on this.
Yep.
So when Prince Charles and Camilla came to D.C., the first thing that Trump and Melania took them to was the Beehive. And in Europe, if there is a change in the king or the queen or a marriage, they take them to the Beehive so the bees know not to leave. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So when Charles and Camilla came to America, and they came to D.C., they went to New York for 9/11, and they went to Virginia because that is where everything started when we became under British law. My thought is, because I live in Florida, and I don't know if everybody knows this, but the bankruptcy of the United States Corporation was filed in my hometown of Tallahassee, Florida. And my question is, because of what I saw with the king and the queen of being physical, did they physically have to file it in Tallahassee, being the state, because of what transpired in 1913 in Jupiter when they created the central banks, the Federal Reserve, the IRS, and everything else?
Correct. Jupiter is the key.
Yeah.
Jupiter is the key. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just checking in and seeing how the chat is doing. Everybody okay? Big video.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah. Everything is for a reason and purpose. It's no different. You had 1913. We have 1933 in Australia. Okay. That's why I mentioned the 1933 seal yesterday.
So anyway, I found that very, very interesting when they had to come publicly, but I thought
it never to be public. Yeah.
It never made sense to me why they filed the bankruptcy in Tallahassee until I started thinking about Jupiter.
Yeah. So anyway, Jupiter is the key. Yeah. And if you were to look at this in a movie perspective, of course, you've got Jupiter Rising, and there's many Jupiter movies. Go back and watch them because they all tie up together. It's the same with the Beekeeper movie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it certainly unfolds, doesn't it? So
anyway, love your information. I just want to let you know I really care about you and appreciate you very, very, very much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Right back at your twin sister. Thank you. Beautiful. Rosemary, how are you? No, Rosemary?
May I speak?
There we go. Karen, absolutely.
I just wanted to tell you, I just got on and you look stunning today.
Oh, thank you.
Your hair, your makeup, you look vibrant. Not that you don't always, but I mean, you just look extra special today.
Thank you. Well,
and
it's been
very blessed. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, thank you, Karen. Appreciate you.
I
appreciate you very, very much.
Have a good one.
Absolutely, Karen. Thank you so much, darling. Absolutely. Big Mike, did you have something? Did you have a question? I saw you popping up before. Did you have a question?
Yes, I do.
Hello, sir. How are you?
Pretty good. I got a question for you. On your channel, your other channel with Mayhem of Mel, you had an article on there about the data centers and using all the water.
Oh, the water.
Yeah.
The water. That's right. You wanted me to. That's right. You did send me a DM to talk about that. What my thoughts were. Okay, so let's talk about the water, Mike. Okay, they said watch the water. Water is a current, isn't it? And it holds memory. Now, it's really interesting, Big Mike, that I mentioned a couple of weeks ago regarding, I wonder if these data centers are linked to the med beds. Did I not say that? Did I say that? Yes.
Yes, you did.
I did. Yes, I did. Because the energy that is being stored in that data center is like storing water. And it's very interesting that people are coming out left field now regarding the data centers and ice. When you think about how many years we've been MK Ultra'd, is it possible that they're going to be storing or taking away that MK Ultra? Quite possibly. It quite possibly could be. We often talked about tribal power came in with a powerful message the other day regarding stars and energy frequencies and things like that as well. So I think, as I said many weeks ago when I stated that I wonder if these data centers are actually med beds. Med beds can come in all different sorts of forms. I keep saying this to people. the physical form that you're probably seeing is definitely real. I'm not saying it's not real, but they are actively being used in certain areas, and we've identified that. But there's also bed med. Let's flip it for a moment. When you lay in your bed, you're resting, aren't you? And when you're at rest, and your body, I think, is 67% made up of water as well. So if you were to break it all down, is that when your mind is at ease and at rest, that's when we do most of our healing. And that's why this whole med bed is also a part. We're seeing people getting very emotional about dreams at the moment. They're having very strange dreams. They're over-analysing their dreams because of the amount of frequencies coming in. So as I said, is this data center part of our energy frequencies? Because they're definitely popping up around the States. Boy, oh boy, everywhere I drive, I see these data centers being boom, 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 boom. And I just start thinking, I wonder if that's to do with free energy. Free energy can also stabilize our frequencies, and we all have to be on the same level playing field. So how do we get the minority that we often talk about come up to speed? And they could certainly do this by eliminating or freezing, let's talk about freezing their old data that they have in their MK Ultra minds. There's certainly much more things to do with this data center. I had so many downloads with that particular video that you're talking about, Big Mike. It is something that everyone really needs to go and have a listen to. And you may have to listen to it 3 or 4 times to really process. I mean, I have to watch it another 3 or 4 times myself, because there's a lot of processes regarding this data center. The water, we said watch the water. Water, ice, currency, frequencies, they all come hand in hand. So, yeah, this guy, it's fascinating how we've never ever experienced so many different levels of thought processing as we have in the last 2 or 3 months. It's almost going like that full circle, but we're spiraling up into a different dimension. And I think that's what's happening to a lot of people. And they're very emotional at the moment. They're seeing videos and detaching themselves from certain things and certain people, and that's okay as well. But we had that same sort of experience, didn't we, when we had COVID? We all experienced that cutting off. But what it is we're not cutting off, we're just ascending and ascending faster. So if you think of water turning to ice, it's the same process. You go through that process of freezing. There is a book that I actually started writing in Thailand,
28 minutes.
How Water Can Heal You. Very interesting how this one has come out. So I hope that helped, Big Mike.
Yeah, it did. The only thing about it, though, couldn't it be used opposite way also?
Oh, it could be. Again, it's no different to algorithms in MRIs and all sorts of things like that. Anything to do with that. Okay. Could it also be opening up your third eye as well? So it can be used either way. And I think that, as I said, you put your faith in these things, but how do we get to the same level playing field or the same level of peace and peace of mind as well? Some people may have to have a few adjustments in those frequencies to allow them to come onto the level playing field, because we all have to be at peace.
Right.
We all have to be at peace. So yeah. So
okay.
We'll see what happens. But there is definitely some form of connection there. So I could do an hour session with you, but we'll talk about that another time. So, but yeah, thank you so much for that. It is one to certainly to watch. So,
Hey, Mel,
thank you so much.
This is Wildflower. I just want to add to that. If you're interested about healing with water frequency, about imprinting water, you need to look that up, because that could be a step. you just said something, because I was going to bring something up about the med beds and the technology, and and you talked about med beds being off world. So I'm going to put this in a question, even though some of it I might already know, but could there be different levels of maybe spirituality, maybe different levels of where you're at with your frequency, that some of the people, because they might not understand, they might not, they might not even never heard of this. And the med beds do work on frequency, plus a lot of other things. So maybe some people will just there'll be different kinds of med beds. And
100%.
yeah. And maybe the water frequency, understand, because I use that, imprinting the water with anything. I mean, and then just drinking it, and what the water does. Just learning about that will help people get a little bit of an idea of what the med beds do. I really think that an injustice has been done to all of us from these gurus, given their 2 cents about med beds, about the RV, and they have no clue what they're talking about. And they have really, really hyped it up. And I think people are going to be shocked, disappointed, because things are not going to be the way that they're being told. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that here later on. But when you talked about the water, look up imprinting water and the frequencies, how you can take a supplement, a picture of that, and you can set your glass of water on that picture on your phone for 30 seconds to a minute. And when you diagnose that, if you can, that frequency of that supplement is in that water, and you just shake it to get it, like the vibration and the frequency active, and you drink it. I mean, it's like, that's what people should be learning. That's what people should be understanding. Don't rely that something is coming down the road to miraculously heal you. I really don't think that's going to happen. I'm sorry. It will be somewhere down the line, but people themselves have to have a different understanding, a different spiritual understanding, a different frequency than what they have now, because they're not just going to give that technology to you if you don't understand how to use it. That you're going to go right back to being the same way that you were. They're not going to do that. When I say they, it isn't our military, that technology. That's from our friends, the Palladians and that. And they're still in charge of that technology. They're not giving that over to us. So they're not going to just hand that over to anybody. They're going to still be supervising all of that. So just food for thought there. And you don't have to answer. I'm just saying stuff, because some of the stuff I know I say, and it might put you in a position. And I don't do that on purpose, because nobody's talking about what needs to be talked about.
Hey, Kim.
And it's like, somebody needs to.
This will be done by 5 o'clock. I'll be back at 7.
That's my 2 cents on that. But if you want to make a comment, that's great, because this is your show. But I want you, if you can, if you can reiterate what you did say about the Iraqi dinar being pegged to the Kuwaiti, because that all got blinked out, and I didn't get to hear any of that either. Anyhow, thanks, Mel.
I love it, and it is so true. And as I have said for many years now, it is not to upset people, it's not to disappoint people, but these people cannot give you any kind of substantiality. They cannot verify certain things. And what I've said and what I've done is, as I said, as algorithms start to come through, this is why this video with the data centers in the water is so important, is that it validates certain things that we have talked about for many, many years or had on our conscious mind and thought, geez, you know, when you go swimming, don't you feel better after you've gone for a swim, or you have a bath and things like that? It's a cleanse, isn't it? So when you think of this whole water and the data centers and you look at these things in a different perspective, it is so, so true, Wildflower. And we don't talk about it enough, because I get very frustrated with people. So I'd be very cautious about how I put it across. But in saying that, it is true. And there is going to be many forms. And I've said the same thing. This is why we have a 1.5, a 3.5, and a 7 Tesla MRI, is that they're at different levels for different people. And this is what I've been trying to put across, not to upset people that, oh, they're not going to have their age regression. Oh, I want the age regression. Oh, hold on a second, sweetheart. You need to fix yourself first before you go into that age regression. And this is the problem that we've had over many, many years, is that we want it and we want it now. We want it to happen straight away. It's not going to be. And this is why I said with the quantum education, oh, we want everything to flip. Well, the flip is going to be in the financial sector first. Yes, that's going to happen first. Then your lives are going to change. And I think I did touch on it last night regarding the fact that we have to allow ourselves these 2 or 3 more years to, like I said, better ourselves, change our attitudes. We are always growing and maturing as people. We need to get ourselves right before we worry about age regression and things like that in med beds. It's great to have those things, yes, and they are real, yes, but we need to take a step back and just make sure that we are educating ourselves. We know what we're going into. We have a higher frequency. We are pretty much 5D, but we need to be 7D to be able to go into age regression and things like that as well. So please understand that. So I'm glad you bring it up, because people aren't talking about it. These are the tough ones that we sort of, you know, hurt people's feelings over. Well, if your feelings are being hurt, then that's on you. You need to fix that, because we're not being tough on you for those reasons. We're being tough because it's the truth. And that's a very good point to bring up. As with the Iraqi dinar, let's go to that little section, because it was apparently distorted. Why was it not distorted? Okay, so in many countries, and we'll get to JT. JT is next, Judy. Just hold on one moment, Jude, because I know that JT Trump and JFK Rise here is next. The IQD. So let's quickly talk about that. What I was actually explaining is that many countries, say for instance in the UK, they don't, then Vietnamese dong is not tradable in the UK. So they will peg to another currency, that being probably Indonesia, and they will make adjustments to that. So if you're in the UK and they still don't have tradable currency that you hold in the UK, and it's not to be panicking about, they will just peg it to another currency, okay? And with the Iraqi dinar, I was using the example that in Australia, we still don't have Iraqi dinar on our screens, although it's in the back screen, but that's not the point. The point is it's not on our screens, but we do have Kuwaiti dinar. We have the Jordanian dinar and the Egyptian dinar. They will most probably peg our Iraqi dinar. So if we were going to go to redemption and it's not a tradable currency at this point in time, they could easily do what we call an alteration. There is a name for it. I can't think of it. It's in the economics world. I'm not up to complete speed with that. But they will peg the Iraqi dinar that you take for redemption, if it's not on the screen, and peg it to most likely the Kuwaiti dinar to pay you for that. So they're going to be in par together anyway. There was a beautiful article regarding Kuwait and Iraq the other day. And I've said, and I have made it, and I'm going to make another statement again, I believe Kuwait and Iraq will be one. Okay, so that's why I'm saying with the Iraqi dinar, it will be pegged to the Kuwaiti dinar. What will be pegged to the Vietnamese dong most likely will be the Chinese yuan or the Indonesian rupiah, I think. But it most likely will be the Chinese yuan. So if that is not trading in that particular country, it will be pegged to a currency equivalent to whatever that is. So I hope that answers that question. But JT, how are you, son?
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for taking
Very
my
well,
question.
thank you, sir. Yes.
You know, everybody, we've been through this 5 years probably or more, and nobody ever specifically gets to the words of what we do. We bought our currency. We sat on it. We're sitting on it for 5 years or more. Whenever these mails come out on your email, nobody particularly tells you, hey, you got an email coming from such and such. We say that it looks like it's U.S. Treasury. We hear Wolverine say, we hear John McDowell say, we hear everybody say it. But that does not understand us what is specifically got to happen when we go through this. So we answer the email. It says it's got two different things you say. What's your area and how much do you have? Okay, that would be automatic. We've heard it's going to be electronic DNA. That's some people say that. We haven't heard that for a while. Things change. We don't know. So, Melissa, you have the inside scoop on certain things that other people don't have. So I want you to go in for about 5 minutes and say what we physically got to do when we get our currency talked about.
Okay. All right. Oh, okay. Let's go through it this way. And this is not going to be exactly how it's going to roll out. All right. There's going to be a message that's going to spread right across the world. And I believe it's going to be the EBS. So JT, I want your opinion on this when I'm finished. That's your EBS. It's going to be an EBS. It's going to be, that's your EBS. The world has changed. We're on the quantum system. And it's going to rock all of you. It is going to rock all of us, to be quite honest. Because your immediate reaction or response then determines where you go next. That's the truth. So what happens is what if this was deemed to be, and an interesting article got sent to me by my admin. And again, there is still a lot of scammers out there. But I'm going to throw this out there to you, JT, is that be very, very careful when you think that you're going to open up an email that looks like it's from the US Treasury. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. If you start telling people where you live on your email and how much currencies you have, that is still a scam. It is no one's business how much you hold, especially at that point in time. What it will be is basically, and it makes more logical sense to me, that it will be an announcement, a global announcement. Now, who does that announcement? As I said, it will be someone, like I said, in shock and awe. And don't start making assumptions it's going to be JFK Jr. I'm not sure who's going to make it. What I'm saying is it will be an announcement. And that announcement will be basically saying that we are all back on gold standard or something to that effect. I don't know how they're going to roll that part out. By then, you will know which part of whether you chose to go to a bank that does foreign currencies. You choose to go to perhaps a Travel X or a travel currency exchange. You choose and you will be able to navigate yourself as to where you go. There are already many currency exchanges popping up in Australia, in supermarkets. No one's can afford to buy currencies, I believe, at the moment, but people are selling currencies. That's the word on the street in Australia. So it's going to be that way, that it's going to be an announcement. It's not going to be the big hoo-ha that they have all been talking about. We're still seeing movements in governments, and I've said that government tax system in New Zealand, of course, is being revamped. That needs to be all done, and it needs to be done safely before any kind of exchange of currencies is going to occur. It will be an announcement. As I said, you will decide, not through an email. If they say email one more time, I'm telling you now, ladies and gentlemen, you need to stop listening to that shit, because it's an email that is causing all the scams. How many scam emails do you receive every bloody day? It is not going to be an email. Full stop, period. Anyone who tells you there is an email or it's from the US Treasury, no, that is a scam. Full stop, period. It is an announcement that is made. It generally will come from obviously the not the World Economic Forum, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. It could also come from the International Valuation Committee. It will come from somewhere. It will be in an announcement. You will choose where you purchased your currencies. You could then sell your currencies back. That is the logic of all of this. It's not going to be, like Wildflower said before, nothing has been proven by any of the gurus that have been in it for 20 years or more. Nothing that they have said has even substantiated evidence of any proof. The dinar recaps that you're talking about, JT, I'm going to put the name out there. They can block me all they like. That platform has changed and altered because it was corrupt. It was giving you all the news that you wanted to hear. It's not about what you want, ladies and gentlemen, it's how it is. It will be an announcement by whomever is in control of this, and you will simply go back to where you're led through the universe, through God, and you will be led to the places that you need to go to. Understand this. Part of what people are saying is, of course, the education of a wealth manager. Well, a wealth manager is only as good as the person that you are. You will choose wisely. That person will also be able to lead you, in some cases, to the right place to be able to cash your currencies in. You can do it privately. You don't have to do it in the physical form yourself. So there's many ways that it can think, but it's not going to unfold, JT, as you think it's going to unfold. You hold your own currencies for a very good reason. The other way you need to look at this is the digital side of things. You've only got to look at things such as Revolut, which just came out just recently, and is now you can purchase $2 worth of gold digitally. We are going into a digital world telepathically. So if you were to look at this on a different perspective, was the fact that we were holding physical currencies is probably not, I'm not going to say it's not the best option, but let's look at the options that we now have where we can purchase them digitally. We don't have to go to any exchange centre or redemption centre. It's done digitally.
Oh, yes. Yep.
I'm going to put that out there.
Yeah. Never
because I asked myself personally, every time that I got into a shit situation and I had to sell my currencies, how many times that kept happening. I asked the universe, I asked my God, my creator, I said, God, why in the heck is this always happening? Why am I continually selling my currencies back? And the word was, I didn't need the physical currencies. So there's another little hiccup that you need to sit with, ladies and gentlemen. You need to sit with that.
We got 50
I'm not
minutes.
saying that holding the currencies is an issue. What I am
Wow,
saying is,
10 minutes
doesn't it
left.
make logical sense that now
Wow,
everything is
yeah.
digital?
Now,
Can I
that's
say
a great,
woohoo?
that's a great point now. And think of it this way too, people. What if we don't even go to a redemption center? Why do we have to go? They know everything. They know what you've bought. They know that. Why would we even have to go? Think of it. Because in your account, it's not just going to be the currency that you own. It's going to be a lot of other things that are already going to be in there. Well, how did that get in there? Well, they must have known something about you. So my thoughts are, we're not even going to go to any redemption center. It's going to be there because they know how much you hid in your freezer or in your garage. They already know all that. And see, people were telling everybody, well, you're going to go there and you're going to get connected to a wealth manager. I'd be like really leery with wealth managers because there's going to be so much out there. You don't need somebody else telling you what to do with your money. You're going to, it's going to be there. You're going to know it. And people were telling everybody, you go there and you get a med bed appointment. No, you don't. I'm just going to say it. No, you do not get a med bed appointment at an RV. So things are so changing. Things are coming out now that haven't been able to be said, that's been known for a long time. And you need to start thinking, oh, hell, maybe it is going to be this way. I think it would be wonderful. Why do we got to go anywhere? We don't. That's just my perspective.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with them knowing what you have, because every time you ordered currency, they have records of that, and they know all the other stuff that's going to go in there also. But what the real crime in all of this is, for all of these channels to be putting out, you're going to need to do this, you're going to need to do that, when they don't have a clue. And then you're sitting here with your thumb up your arse and wondering, now, what am I going to do now? And I do believe that it will be put out. I always thought that it would be military for us in the U.S. or President Trump, because we have so much disclosure that has to come out. And somehow or another, I always felt like, and I've heard it a long time ago, that is how that we would go and redeem, ever how we redeem it. And I agree. It don't have to be by going anywhere. But, somehow they'll get your currency. Maybe you'll mail it to them. I don't know. But what the real crime is, this late in the game, that people are still jerking people around. I don't believe they're crap, but there's a lot of people out there that do. And that's what really hurts me, to see people being taken advantage of. So I agree with what you're saying, and I believe it in my discernment. I feel it. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
No, that's my absolute pleasure.
Can I get in line, please?
Whoa, slow down. I'm going to go back to JT. I'm going to go back to JT first, because he was the one that instigated that. So JT, you have the floor for a moment, and then we'll get back to that. I don't want this to end up, by the way, as I don't want to focus on this too much, because as I said, JT, has that answered your question, love, or did you want anything else that you would like for me to add to that, sweetie?
Okay. Now, I'm just saying to myself, I got all these pieces of paper down here that I spent $9,000 for, which they're way worth more than that. So how do you trace it back? Since I'm not going to be having paper anymore, I've already got XRP. I got XLM. I got all. Okay, I don't need none of this crap. If I don't need it, I'm going to turn it back in. where do you turn it back in at?
Yeah, well, it's not about you turning it back in, JT, because a lot of people, as I said, are going to hear this and that's what they're going to feel like. I'm not saying that you have to turn it all in, darling.
Thanks,
What I'm saying is that you can purchase
this will be
currencies.
till 5 o'clock. And I'll
And
be
again,
back
it's not an endorsement
at 7.
because but there's other ways you can do it. Yes, there is the Wise account. I get all of that, but I was never, ever happy with Wise. Their fees and their restrictions and things like that as well. But JT and to all of you out there, there is other ways, such as, like I said, Revolut and things like that as well. I think there's a few others that have come out with foreign currencies digitally. JT, I'm not saying go and cash them in straight away. Hedge your bets, okay? Hold some physical, definitely hold some physical, darling. Because I remember you, JT, you came up in one of my very first Q&As, and I'll never forget this story because I don't forget too much anyway. But JT, you told and shared your story about how your actual RV was burnt and you had to rebuild up all of those currencies. Is that correct, sir? That was you, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it was. And I have never, ever forgotten you. And I followed you when you started your own channel, and I have never left your channel. And I say what I mean, and I mean what I say, Sunshine. You have always touched my heart. I feel for you. And understand this, sweetie. It's not about you giving up your $9,000 that you worked and saved and scrimped and did everything to do. And this goes out to everyone who's done the same. I'm not saying that, sweetheart. What I'm saying is that you will know in your heart, you'll go back to, like I said, a bank that does foreign currency exchanges. You can still do that. That's why I gave you two options, darling. But understand that the world has changed and it's now digital. That those people were selling the idea of, oh, you need a Zim note to do a project. No, you didn't. God only knows that we have so many people in this world who are already doing humanitarian. Where I'm staying right now, they're saying, Mel, you do so much for nothing. Yes, I do. I do way more than what people realise I do. And I'll do it again tomorrow for nothing because I love it. Just like you do with your channel, JT. People go and save animals every single day. They may not be up to speed with the RV and they may not like Trump or whatever, but there's still humanitarians out there. You hold the key because you hold that much currency, darling. You hold that key. You look after that currency. And as I said, when this all does happen, then go and cash it in. But also know that you can hedge your bets digitally. I'm not saying go and cash it all in right now. You hold on to that because that's where God led you to go. God led you to do that. So you hold on to those currencies, sweetheart. And when it flips, you take it to the bank or you take it to a currency exchange and then you exchange it and you put it safely where you want to put it. What I'm saying is, darling, is that there's two options. But there is no redemption centres and this, that, and all the rest of it. They're feeding the masses. They want to keep feeding the masses, go right ahead. Knock yourselves out. But, darling, wherever you purchase the currencies, you can take them back when it happens. But you hold on to that. But, yes, you have XRP and you have XLM. I gave you my prediction, JT, $3.75 for XRP by the end of May. So hold on to your bets.
You texted me 2 months ago and you said buy $1,000 worth of XRP. I did. I got it on my stock right now.
There you go, darling. So as I said to you, I will never leave your side, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll never leave your side, JT. Because there's not too many of them that put their face up on the screen and do what I have to do. None of them, as I said earlier in the pre-show, none of them actually get censored as much as I do because they don't want to be part of all of that. So understand this, as I said, it makes logical sense that it will not be an email, sweetheart. It will not be an email because that's how scammers get you. Okay, so I want you to understand that first and foremost. And then you take it back, you go and redeem them, you put it in your QFS account, which is already your account, by the way. Anyone promoting a QFS account, that's another scam. All of your accounts are already mirrored. You can safely put it into your account. Then if you choose, JT, you can then go and find a holistic accountant and lawyer and all of those people. Like I said, the universe will lead you to the right people for the right things. But don't think I'm going away, because someone asked me yesterday, what happens after the RV mail? I said, well, I'm going to be here to talk to you about your projects and how to run a project and all of those things, how to set up the bees and become a beekeeper.
That's
okay.
Awesome. And JT, I want to add something here. We all have, a lot of us have that paper currency. That is still good. If you wouldn't have bought that, they wouldn't have known what to put in your account.
We made it to the first hour, you guys. 2 more hours, so it'll be 5:05 probably. Hope we can make it.
That's the money that's going to go into your account, is the actual physical currency you have on hand. Mel's just giving you another option now that you can go buy things digitally. But that paper currency, that is what they know that you bought, and that's what's going to be in your account. That's
Yep.
I just want to make sure that people, because I'm seeing people are saying, well, so what do I do with all this? Well, and how, and if they want you to drop it off, the paper stuff, after it's already done with, they'll let you know. Maybe they'll say burn it. Who knows? But what you bought is what they are going to deposit into your account. That's how I think it's going to be.
So you're
100%.
Wildflower. You're telling me the stuff that burnt in my trailer over $5,000 worth that time is going to be all connected because it's still in my eBay account.
That's exactly
Absolutely.
right, JT.
Wow.
All that. They know that you bought all that.
Excuse me, what about the people that bought the cash or currency for cash, or some had it gifted? How would that work?
It still works the same, honey. They know.
Okay.
It's a quantum energy.
Okay.
So when you think of your two brains, you have your brain up here and your brain in the gut, okay? And quantum energy is more powerful than what you realize, Daisy Miss. The quantum energy says, oh, I've got these currencies, I'm in the game now. Yes, you pay cash for them, but get excited, love. The excitement inside of you creates a quantum energy. And then it goes into your consciousness. When we talk about consciousness, they already know, darling. It's like all these people who go and buy their silver for cash. And they think, oh, we're trying to stay out of the system because we brought it cash. Well, guess what? It's still in your consciousness that you brought it. Do you understand?
Yes,
Do you understand, baby?
The universe knows.
Okay. So get excited.
Thank you.
That's okay, but I hope that helps. And that's why I love this interjection today from Wildflower, because JT, I will never, ever forget your story. And I always said to you, darling, it will come back to you, and it will come back to you tenfold. So whatever has happened in your life, no matter who you are, ladies and gentlemen, just know in your consciousness, it doesn't matter whether you paid cash for it or whatever. It's there. It's in that frequency. It's in the quantum energy. It's in your consciousness. I'm in the game. I've got my silver. I've got my XRP. I've got my currencies. They already know that because it's in your higher self. It comes from your third eye to the higher self. They already know. So this is why when this whole cash is king thing used to do my bloody head in, because I go, no, do you not realize that the quantum energy is a frequency and it's already in here? So yeah, so don't be dismayed, precious Daisy Miss. It doesn't matter
Thank you.
whether
And
you cash for it, baby. It
one
doesn't
other
matter.
question, Daisy. One other question, if I may.
Yes.
Our projects, humanitarian projects, I have like 3 in 1. You're basically saying they already know what our intention is and what we're supposed to sign up for on a frequency level. Is that correct?
That's correct. So what I'm saying is the universe will lead you. That's what I'm saying, honey. The universe will lead you to where you need to be and who you want to see. People will appear in your life.
I always felt that we don't have, sometimes with the surroundings that we're at, it puts us back a little, but then we have to lift ourselves again and again until we really start to work it.
It is. That's true, Daisy Miss.
Mel?
That's why I'm never stationary.
I have a question, please.
Hold on a second. Zany Laura, Mountain.
Okay, we got somebody in chat here. Well, Larry, that's your opinion. You have your own opinion. Everybody got theirs. Everybody likes Mel.
Zany Laura, Mountaintop.
I was supposed to go.
Oh, Judy was, yes. Thank you.
Hold on a minute.
Hold on a minute.
Everybody mute their mics, please. Judy, I think you're next.
Yes, you are, Judy.
Thank you. I just wanted to say I live in South Carolina and I received a survey about the data centers and the AI. It was very lengthy and I went through it and answered all the questions, but I did not send it yet because I wasn't clear on exactly what all that entailed. And so I wanted to do some research and find out what people like you were saying about it. And God led me to this tonight because I haven't been on this channel for a while. And so I just wanted to see what your insights were about the fact that I got a survey. And it did state for South Carolina building these data centers all over the place. And like what we thought it would benefit and the water and the power and all those questions were in that survey.
They were. I was just about to ask you. So when you were doing that survey, Judy, and you were just talking about your, like you felt curiosity, didn't you, when you were filling that survey out? And of course, you come on here tonight. This is what we're talking about. Get excited, Judy.
I have goosebumps.
There you go. So there you go. So this is what we should be talking about because the RV is going to happen regardless. But the water, the electricity, these data centers, as I said, is our savior. They say AI, but when you understand, here's another little perspective I'm going to throw out there because this is why we started this show when Mollflower and I first got.
This is a 3-hour. We got an hour in, and I did intel before this, and I'm going to do a second show at 7 o'clock. The biggest one of the year on the video here.
Got together, this is where I really wanted it to go. What if you think of your own brains, okay? It's like when you have a gut issue, Judy, and your gut tells you one thing and your brain's trying to justify what's going on in the gut brain.
Yes.
When they are not in sync, you have to fix this one up here. Because
that's exactly why I didn't hit send.
That's exactly why you didn't. Exactly. Yeah. So when you were reading that and you were listening to me talking about the water and the electricity and the data centers being the med beds, Also think of your brains as the quantum computers and the blockchain, okay? And it's all AI. We are our own human AI intelligence, and that is our brain. So when you think of AI, I want you to think of it as a different perspective. AI as your brain, and as I was describing with Big Mike, that it is deleting or adding certain data. So they can not only delete data, but they're also going to add data through your quantum computer, which is your brains. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
So if they're talking about in that survey, I'd love to be able to get a link to that survey to see, because I would have a different perspective again. But if they're talking about in that data center link, they're talking about water and electricity, boom shakalaka, girlfriend, boom shakalaka. If you were to now go back and go through those questions again, I bet your bottom dollar you're going to look at that survey about the data centers in South Carolina in a different perspective.
Absolutely. Because when I was going through them the first time, I was like, okay, data centers, what is that going to do to improve our future? And, you know, I was trying to connect the quantum financial system and the quantum system, period, you know, the frequency, the vibration. And I was just, you know, my head, like you said, was going a different direction. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to read through these and I'm not going to send it just yet because I want complete clarity on what, you know, I'm answering.
Yeah.
Because there, you know, I've heard the AI is bad, but then you just never know. You know, it's just until you get that download.
Until you get that confirmation.
Yes.
So let's look at this even from a different perspective. I just had another download thought, Judy. And this download thought was telling me, do we really trust the plan? Are we trusting in the plan? Because when you think about this, Judy, let's have a look at this. All of these data centers being built. You think DJT doesn't know about these data centers?
Oh,
Our
absolutely
president?
he does. Yes,
Of course
he does.
So why are we not trusting in our plan? That's the message I got. Trust in the plan.
Thanks for sharing that, Ann.
All right. Well, I am going to try to send you that link. And if I can't, I will figure out some way to get those questions to you.
Absolutely. New Earth, you're just going to have to wait in line, New Earth, honey, because there's a few people ahead of you, darling. We'll get to that in a second. But Judy, that's what I want you to focus on, okay, is that trust in the plan. Because if these centres are going up everywhere, as I said, I've always believed that the US is going to be the one that has the EBS because of everything that's happened. And I think that's how it's going to unfold. But Judy, trust the plan, trust in both your guts and your brain, because they are both brains. And I hope you got excited about that, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Judy, for sharing, because these are the kind of things that I wanted to bring out so that we can talk about the logic behind it all. And thank you so much to the beautiful Judy. So we'll go back down, I believe. I'm going to go back down. I think it was...
Hold on a minute.
Yes.
Now, so I just want to bring up, we're going to have to go on without any more questions about the RV. We have a whole lot of questions on the wall. And
beautiful. Let's go.
So we're going to have, if you have an RV question, you're going to have to think of another question, because she spent an hour and a half on this already. So we have to go forward. Thank you for understanding.
And at Paul Ub is up next too when we're finished those questions on the board. So at Paul Ub, you're up first. Then I'll go through the rest. Go for it, Wildflower. My pleasure, darling. That's okay.
My question is, as an expat, an American in Germany, now from everything that I heard, this is totally mind-boggling for me, because it means that I don't have to leave Germany to go to the RV, because that's what I've been told. I'm going back and forth. So how does that work?
Exactly like I said, darling, everything is digital.
I have bonds and currency and a trust, so I don't have to leave. I can stay here and still go to the RV as an American in Germany.
Yes.
Great.
They will still treat you as it is in your own country. So that's the last of the RV questions for tonight. We'll definitely be touching on that next week. But thank you, Paul. No worries at all, darling. You do not have to leave the country and go back and all that.
You really, my heart is calm for that, because it's been a question that no one has been able to answer until now. Thank you so very much.
Too easy.
And
My pleasure,
going to say
darling.
good night, because it's almost 4 o'clock in the morning here.
No worries at all, and we appreciate you more than you know. Thank you so much. You can go to rest easy. So we're going to go to the wall, I believe. Wildflower, go for it, girlfriend. Let's rock some questions out of here.
All righty. All right, Tom, New Jersey, you're up. You can.
Oh, you've been quiet tonight, Tommy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent.
All right. So here's my question. Last week, USD to Japan hit a critical threshold of 160.72, along with their 10-year Treasury yield reaching its highest level this century at 2.524%. Japan's finance minister issued a final warning to markets, then sold 35 billion USD, representing the first intervention of this type since July 2024. The yield jumped 3%, down to 155.5 within hours. Now on Zero Hedge, I'm just reading now that Bloomberg is reporting they did 2 more interventions and another 20 billion of selling likely U.S. Treasuries to buy yen. Anyway, going back to that. So many attribute this currency intervention with rising oil crude prices associated with the U.S.-Iran Strait of Hormuz conflict that began in late February. Last month, the Bank of Japan, they kept interest rates on hold at 0.75%, with 3 of its 9 policymakers calling for a hike to 1%. Japan is currently on the Golden Week holiday while facing their most complex macroeconomic challenges in decades, as a weakening yen, surging government bond yields, and a sharp spike in global oil prices collide, raising fears of a prolonged period of financial stress and policy uncertainty. How do you see Japan playing out in the next 30 to 90 days, including impact to world economies?
Perfect. Okay. First of all, very briefly, the interventions, they're not interventions. They're playing out in the old system. So that's what they're doing there. The fact that you said that they also had 2 other interventions in that conglomerate, because they never tell you everything. The fact that they said $35 billion in USD since 2024. As I said, this is the finalization before we flip the switch. So all of those things have to be dealt with. The reason it's important to watch the Japanese market, Tom, is because that's where your tsunami is going to have, because they've held the most amount of treasury bonds in Japan. So they're paying out the bonds now in the old system, and that will all come back. And that's important. That was one of those cogs in the wheel, which reminds me I must contact Holly, because I know I'm doing a show this week with Holly. So I will probably talk a lot more about the bonds on Holly's show, Tom. But basically those 3 interventions in the Japanese market. The Japanese market is the tsunami, the financial tsunami, so to speak. And of course, we talk about zero loans and zero impact. It will be a smooth transition. So what they're doing is actually paying out those bonds in the old system. So they're clearing the that bond market. So what should implode, though, it may cause like a crash in the bond market. But But that's all good because it's paying out in the old system, because they've got to pay out the yields on those bonds in the old system before we transfer all the other bonds over. So I'm looking forward to that, Tom. We should do an economics show, you and I, those who are interested in economics, Tom and Mel. I think we should do that.
Me too. Mr. Poole put out a post, I think it was back in 2022, and he showed the dominoes falling. And the first domino to fall was the Japanese yen.
Japanese yen. Yeah, the yen. So, that's right, not the one. The yen. Yes, the Japanese yen. Yeah. And it will be the first one to fall. Absolutely. And that's why we do what we do, ladies and gentlemen. So, yes, the Japanese market is the start of the dominoes. So,
thanks,
well
Mel.
done, Tom. My pleasure. Absolutely.
Thanks, Tom. I'm just going down through the wall, some of the stuff that has to do with RV or currency. If we have time at the end, I will come back to that. But right now, I'm going to take other questions that are not relevant to that. And things that Mel's already talked about at the beginning of the show. Like she did talk about Australia a little bit, things that are happening down there. And I know that she talked about a lot of that on her Q&A last night. So please go reference that, her Q&A from last night. Okay, let's see here. Did that. So this is one from Fanny regarding New Zealand. I'm not sure if you touched on this about property valuations came out yesterday and ours has dropped by $40,000. Wow. This never happens. They only ever go up. What do you think may be going on?
Again, just like the markets in the bond, they're making an adjustment. So Fancy Nancy, that is also making an adjustment. It's they've had hyperinflation in New Zealand just recently, and these are those adjustments. Hence why I mentioned about the tax system being reviewed, and of course their GDP and all of that is in. It's going to look like turmoil for New Zealand. Properties reducing by 40,000. That's an adjustment, getting ready for what is to come. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. Claudia has a question, and I know that other people have, talked about this, about when the wealth transfer happens, when we all have income, money in our accounts. You did talk about retirement. It's 55. Yeah, thank God, because I hit that age too. And she's concerned about the workforce. Like, what's that going to look like? And my thoughts, and Mel, is that if you still have to work, because you probably will, I think that's going to be a requirement, that you'll be working on the humanitarian projects that are already established. I think that's where a lot of people will be, the workforce will be at. What's your thoughts?
100%, absolutely. And also know too that the re-education system, or part of that new quantum system, is that, as I said, those of us who have had husbands who have been bricklayers or carpenters or floor covering guys, they end up battered and bruised. Well, they're going to have robots to do that, so they will become robotic engineers. The task force of, say, things like for a plumber and things like that as well, they're not going to disappear. We always need a good plumber. They always seem to be good looking, those blokes too. I don't know why, but anyway. But understand, you're going to be doing projects, and there's going to be plenty of them. There is plenty of projects to be doing. The workforce doesn't actually reduce. We always had this mindset that, there's not going to be anyone working. Who's going to be working if we've all got this money? And no, we're going to be doing the things that we love to do. So, again, there's going to be requirements that they will have to work we reduce our hours they start it slowly. So instead of working a 40-hour week, we go back to 38. And then I think it drops down to 36. And then they drop it down to 30 hours. So I think that's going to be the maximum. You'll only be working 3 days a week, if you're less than 55. So like I said, this is going to roll out. It's going to roll out slowly. And don't be panicking about the workforce, because there's plenty of people that, like I said, I do what I do because I love it. I don't do it to get paid. But yeah, so understand all of that. So it's not going to alter or change. I know it's one of those things that we've implanted in our head because that's what we've heard, but it's not going to be like that. And people are going to be much happier not having to lay bricks all day.
Hey, we're out. Halfway, you guys. Halfway.
So there's many different things.
124.
And a lot of this stuff, we're thinking with our 3D minds. We're thinking with how we've been manipulated to think. And and when I say you got to think differently, and somebody says, well, how can I do that when I don't know how to do that? Well, you're going to learn. You're going to be taught. You're going to get downloads. So when a lot of these questions I see, you're still thinking in a 3D mind. And we're not going to be living in a 3D world. So sometimes the questions can't be answered because we all come from a 3D world. So we don't know it. Mel doesn't know it. So you just got to think that it's going to be so amazing and so great and so wonderful. And there's nothing to fear. There's nothing to be afraid about. So I just want to bring that up because I'm seeing questions here. Well, what about this and what about that? It's like, well, because it's not going to be like that. We're thinking the way that we've been taught, and that's all going bye-bye.
100%. So
this is from Cora Lynn. Is the southern border wall a huge tuning fork? How will its activation affect us if the answer is yes? Thank you.
Yes, it is a tuning fork. There was a new bridge that's being built in Mexico. It's a tuning fork, but it's using the water frequency. How funny is that? I just remembered that. Again, like I said, how's it going to affect us? Easily. It's going to change our vibration, change our consciousness. It's like the ringing of the bells. And they're freezing me again. I think I'm going to lose internet here very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. It's glitching really badly.
We can still hear you and see you.
That's good. I can see it on my side. It's slowing down, and it's like I'm getting all these, facial distortions. But anyway, that's all good. Like I said, it's a change of frequencies. How it's going to unfold. As I said, it's hard to explain it. You're just going to feel it, just like you're feeling those changes now. If you're having ringing in the ears and all that kind of thing, think of it as the ringing of the bells. And again, it goes the same with the currencies to the bells. The bells are now changing because we're having different ailments, but very similar to that of the bells. They took away the bells. We replaced the bells with data centers, for instance. The bells are going to be replaced with different forms of energy and tuning forks and bridges. Bridges are going to be an energy and frequency as well. So all those brand new bridges that they're building also have frequencies in them as well, the way they're designed. And the buildings as well. Buildings are already being designed differently. If you've seen different structures, if you have a look at the building structures, I had the privilege of going around Jacksonville and seeing different buildings, and the different types of building structures are also frequencies as well. They also have tuning forks in them, so the way they've been built. So hence the Twin Towers. So let's go to there very quickly. If you have a look at the Twin Towers, it was done in a tuning fork as well. So we have to think outside the square, so to speak. So, yeah.
That's a couple more here on the wall, and then we'll go back to the live. Well, actually, I'll finish the wall, and then we'll finish off with the live questions. Mel, can you just clarify about NDAs, why there probably is not going to be any NDAs?
Oh, yes. Okay. As I said with my New Zealand group last night, this is how I had to come to a calmer section about NDAs. If you have to sign an NDA, it is because it's to protect them, not to protect you. You are your own NDA. You make a choice whether you're going to zip your lip or who you want to tell. If you are signing an NDA, another one of those hypocrisies that they come up with, then it's to cover their ass. So if you were going to go to a bank and the little cashier says, I need you to sign an NDA because I've just given you a bigger rate than everyone else. It's to cover their ass, not yours. Understand that. So that's what my is on NDAs. There is no NDA. The NDA is with you. Simple as that. But I went on a 5-minute rant with my group last night, so about NDAs. But anyway, so there you go.
So, and I see people have questions on the wall, but you're already in line to ask a live question. So I'm not going to ask your question that you have posted on the wall. Zany Laura, you made a statement here. I knew I was going to be cut off and passed up, but you're in line to ask Mel a question. So you're not going to be passed up. Just hang on. We're getting there.
We could do an all-night show, you know, like this would go on all night. It's like, oh my gosh.
We should, because 2 hours is already almost up already.
I know. We have so much fun that it just disappears like that. So
yes. Okay. Let's look here. Go ahead and do we'll do 2 more live questions. I got to go through all this other stuff that's not questions on the wall. It's just me, people, so please bear with me. So go ahead with the next. Who was next in line? Was it? I think it was the Daisy. It was Zany Laura, I think, wasn't it?
yes, it was. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I just tried to scroll back, but it's moved, so it was there. But yes.
Mel,
Jamie.
I'm trying to wrap
How are
my
you?
brain around. Hello, I'm good. I'm trying to wrap my brain around what you've been saying. I'm gonna replay this video so I can really get it into my brain. I was gifted 6 pieces of currency, and then I only went and bought one because, you know, they were telling us you've got to buy one to be on the list so that they'll know that you're in the RV and stuff like that. So you mentioned quantum field and stuff. So you're telling me, I know Source knows, I know my guardian angels know, I know my benevolent friends and relatives out there know. Are you saying that the military or the quantum system already knows that I have gifted currency and they're going to let me be able to trade it in?
Absolutely, darling.
Now, trade it in on the tier 5 public? Or
well, I think we're all public. That's my opinion.
Okay, all
anyway.
right. I'm starting to get it. Thank you very much.
That's okay, Zany. Zany, stay right there. I want to explain this to you specifically because you've been courageous, and that's okay, darling, because you're being courageous enough to be fairly honest with yourself. I can assure you, people who have followed me for quite some time, I have said that the tiers, now there's 2 tiers in banking, Zany, tier 1 and tier 2, okay? Tier 1 is your reserve bank or your central banks, and tier 2 are those banks that hold assets such as gold and silver now. Do you understand that, Zany?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's the 2 tiers. There's only 2 tiers. The rest of the tiers were created by groups. And it's going to hurt some people, and I really don't care anymore. I'm done. They were created. Now, even the likes of Mark C will tell you, and he has said it on his lives, because I have the recording, that yes, the tiers were made up. So when I say, darling, that the tier 5, we are all tier 5. We're all going at the same time, because this is digital, darling. Okay, so Zany, when you understand a level playing field, we are all going at the same time. Does that make sense to you, sweetie?
Yes, ma'am, and I've heard that before. I have to unprogram from what I've been told
Absolutely,
for 5 years. You know, I have to unprogram it. What you're saying has the ring of truth, and I've just got to analyze it and get it into my heart.
Getting brain, yeah. And that's exactly what JT and I were talking about, darling. I've known JT for quite some time, and it is a part of that deprogramming. But know that you are safe and that you're here. That's the most important thing, and everything's going to be fine, sweetie. Okay? Everything is going to be fine.
Thank you so very much for your time and your consideration.
My pleasure, darling. A mountaintop.
Hey,
You're
Mel.
actually ready to.
Oh,
Hey,
yes, right.
how are you, sweetheart?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm
Okay.
excellent.
Before I ask a question, I just have to say how I love where this has gone tonight. So much more interesting on the details of money. I love your heart-centered perspective on quantum consciousness. And actually, for a year, God told me a year ago to be still. And I have been still. And just to encourage anyone out there, be still. You'll hear a lot. A lifetime of connected dots, from a scripture to my interest in geometry, to light, to frequency, to healing, to all these things. It's hard to describe, like you said, but it all comes together if you just be quiet and be still and listen. So anyway, thank you for all that. My question, which feels kind of boring now, is about XRP.
Oh, that's not boring.
Well, compared to this other, for me lately, it's just been, I've been really engrossed in, I had to draw it out. I had to draw my heart map out on paper and map it so I could see it. And it was really, anyway. So with XRP, last week you mentioned that you were feeling maybe not a buyback.
Yes.
So with it being institutional use, then would we then, like, and I've heard wind of maybe it being banks accepting it for collateral for loans. Is that something we would use for like a passive income stream? Or, I'm not sure how to use it then if it's institutional, and I'm not an institution.
No, you're not the institution. But your institution is your gold and silver, isn't it? It's an instrument. We won't call them institutions now. Let's go quantum. Quantum and talk about instruments. How's that sound?
Yeah.
So if we look at XRP as an instrument or a tool, it's a tool, isn't it? So if XRP is linked to your gold, and it is institutionalized in the sense that the banks hold gold. Do you see where I'm going with that? And it is true. So when we looked at the coin-based derivatives, what are derivatives? Derivatives are the connection to link it to the gold. Okay, so XRP is now linked to the gold as a derivative. Okay, so you've got your XRP and you've got your gold, and it's now derived into the gold. Okay, that's what a derivative is. So when you align all of that up, yes, you're using, that's why I said to the gentleman about, yes, there was a contract about buybacks, but I personally wouldn't buy it or sell it back.
Okay.
For no price, because it's your hedge.
Yeah.
So if you hold XRP, you're holding gold, aren't you? And the reason that you can loan or borrow off your own gold, because it is your gold. Again, this is quantum. This is quantum. So that we're using the institutions, as I said, as a service provider to connect you with your quantum consciousness as we said to JT earlier, that your XRP is going to be given to you in the institutional account. And yes, you are your own bank. So we've been talking about this you are your own bank section for quite some time. So this is where the institutions are used as service providers to service your own debt. So if you needed $5 billion for your project, you can borrow that against what you already hold in those institutions, which is your gold. I hope people start to understand this now. It's your gold, baby girl. You can borrow that from that hedge, and that is correct. And that's why I said, go back to that lovely person that is talking about the buybacks and talking about, and again, this is not a criticism. What I'm saying is, in a peaceful world, is it right to go back and say to people that you can negotiate your XRP and ask for $1 million? Is that part of a new world, or are we still sitting in 3D?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Do you understand where I'm going with this?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Because I call it bullshit. Anyone who starts telling me that I've got 10 stations and I can sell my XRP for $1 million. Who are you selling it to? Him? I said to the gentleman, you better go back to the person who gave you that advice and ask them that question, because I ain't selling my XRP for nobody, because it is institutionalized. That's my gold. My quantum consciousness, that's my QFS system. That's my QFS right there, ladies and gentlemen. Hence, let's go to the notes now that I've just had this epiphany. I love XRP. So I have this epiphany that I just had a download to talk to you very briefly about the new notes. And have you noticed that they're vertical and not horizontal? Has anyone actually thought about that? Well, let's talk about the horizontal and the vertical. Back in the day, we talk about the scrolls, don't we?
Yep.
And how was the scrolls written? They were written vertically.
Right.
Okay. And so if you were to think of vertical, we often talk about XRP, XLM going to the moon. They're going vertical. They're not going to flatline anymore. They're going to vertical. So I just thought I'd throw that one in there just for shits and giggles. But so yes. And if you were to look at the new digital $100 note here in Australia, I don't know why I keep saying here in Australia, but in Australia, the $100 note is the gold, which is the largest note that will be distributed in Australia. So, but yeah, so there you go.
That really helps. Thank you. Yes, and I did send you an email by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I sent it today, so you'll hear from me.
Excellent. Thank
Beautiful.
you very much.
Thank you, Mel. Love you.
Love you too. Love you even more. I love it when you get a random question like that. Gets me excited.
Now, this is Wildflower. I just need to address something. On the chat, if somebody asks a question and you don't agree with it, don't respond. I'm not going to put up with negative comments and attacking another person because they've asked a question and you didn't like what they said. I will ban everybody that interferes with that.
Absolutely.
So please don't do that. And if somebody's asking a question, if it's generated towards Mel, you're not Mel. So let Mel answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Question, please.
Yes, Daisy Smith. She's back.
Yes. I'm going to ask you a 5D and above question. If I put out in the universe the properties that I had envisioned for my project, and they are no longer in my reach because they've sold, is it possible that they could be holding for me?
It's very, very interesting. But imagine And we use those exercises quite often, okay? But imagine if it was somewhere else, not those places that you had.
Yes, I could imagine that.
Absolutely.
But
So-
the layout and the facility and the location were congruent with what my vision. So in other words, it could be somewhere else, but it could be within my vision.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so
Yes.
kindly.
Very much. That's all right.
Hi, Mel.
Hello, Tribal Power. We've been waiting for you to come up. How are you, sweet?
I'm trying to get up. Everybody's asking questions today.
I know. They've been really, there's been like a little bit of like tension and excitement and all sorts of mixed feelings tonight. I can feel the energies. It's quite amazing, Tribal Power, because I feel the energies too. And it's like, I often say, sometimes they don't want to hear it, but they're going to hear it anyway, because that's Mel. But anyway, that's all good. So what have you got? You've been an instigator of a lot of my new programs. I've been mentioning, this lady by the name of Tribal Power. So empower us with your knowledge tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Goodness. Well, I suppose, like you said, I've been feeling my stomach going round and listening. And I know Wildflower started off with saying the change in the spiritual world, and I've heard spirituality brought up. And it's been my opinion that for some time we've been misled quite a bit with the spiritual community, and then they introduced New Age, and then hearing about all these channels and how it's upsetting people being given wrong information. It reminded me of the meaning of 666, and it's always been, people have said, the sign of the beast, right? So they say humans are carbon-based life form, and that we are made up of 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. So is this actually the molecular structure of material man? And then there's that saying, Earth is the devil's playground. So is that what it means when they say Satan runs this planet? It's just food for thought. Is it our own behavior? You know, is that what's going on? So I thought it was just interesting.
It is interesting. It is very, very interesting. The fact that we are carbon, and yet we talk about carbon credits in that kind of thing as well. So as I said, we are our own instrument. We, if you were to flip the 666, you now have 999. That is completion. So when we talk about reverse the curse, if we were to use the 666 and reverse it, then you're reversing Satan, aren't you? If that was to be the case, if that's what you were focused on. But synchronicities with numbers, the angel number 666, I can't quite remember what it actually means. But if you're looking at it as an angel number and not as the Satan, then you could also do the flip on that as well. So you are what you're focused on. And I think the whole carbon thing, we talked about earlier today, 67% of us is water, and the rest of us is carbon and other bits and pieces. Well, the carbon credits, and I'm going to say something funny and derogatory here, but every time I fart, I think, well, okay, that's another one to my carbon credits. It's like, bring it on. Bring it on. You know what I'm saying? So, again, this is a part of that quantum consciousness, is that if you take it on board that you are 67% water, that is your currency. And water, of course, it feeds your brain and feeds both your brains and what have you. And as I said, it's amazing when we start looking at this in a quantum position where we are water, we are carbon, water is currencies. So good water. So it was interesting when Wildflower was talking about the water, and it's like, you know, when you pour yourself water out of tap or wherever it's coming from. So if you don't have the right sources of good water, you can always say, God, please bless this water I'm about to receive. And that's why these blessings are so important. So if you were to focus on the 666 as an angelic meaning, then that's how we destroy the satanic side of that 666.
Yes.
Very, very
I've got the
important.
meaning.
It's very
here of the
interesting.
I've got the meaning of the 666 in the angel numbers. It says it's time to focus on spirit to balance and heal your life. Tell heaven about any fears you have concerning material supply. Be open to receiving help and love from both humans and the angels.
And I have 66% on my battery, just saying. Just as you said that. You couldn't make this up. You can't make it up, ladies and gentlemen. But thank you. So that is, you know what? That is a beautiful way, I think, to actually end the show today, is that we certainly need to focus on our spirituality. And as I said, although we do talk often about the RV and the monetary side, certainly know and understand, ladies and gentlemen, this is beyond all of that. It is biblical, as they say, but it is also very, very spiritual. So I think that tribal power, you've done it again. You always are a shining light for me. I think that is a beautiful way to end the show. What do you think, Wildflower?
Yes, I know that you're on a time schedule, and
I'm tight today.
Yes, I know you are. And if anybody wants to stay on, there are some questions on the wall. I can answer them the best that I know. No, I'm not Mel, but
you know me.
Yeah. I can help out there. So Mel, I hope you get some rest and let your brain just calm down. Just relax.
Yes, I got another session in a few hours' time. So, but that's all good. But ladies and gentlemen, as always, it is an absolute pleasure and honour to be here. As I said, this is the only other group session that I actually do live, and it's always an honour. But ladies and gentlemen, it has been a very interesting show, to say the least. Boy, did we cover some stuff and some ground today. For me, it is a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and a good night. Ladies and gentlemen, love to you all, to all a good night. We will see you very, very soon. We've got Wacky Wednesday tomorrow.
Fantastic show.
No worries at all. Bye for now, everyone. Love you all. Bye.
Thanks, Mel.
Take care. Thanks for doing this.
You too. Thanks, Why Not? How are you doing?
So thanks, Mel. We love you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mel.
Thank you, Mel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wildflower.
So much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mel.
You guys are
Thank
very
you,
welcome.
Mel and Wildflower.
So Why Not? Are you still on here? Did he leave?
Yes,
Why
I
Not?
am.
You're still here. Okay, I seen your question on there. So anybody that Why Not wanted to have, I think your question was about if people are
I think that was 2 hours for her. We only want to listen to Mel, right? So I guess it was only 2 hours. It was 3, but we don't want to listen to the other people. We don't know them. So, I'll play a couple 10-minute ones here. I got Chico. Get up there. Come on. Come on. Up. So I got the news guy, his new one out. We are going to play. Okay. We'll play two 10-minute ones here. I got one with 9. I thought it was almost 3 hours.
2026. This is EPAC, the news you need. I'm your host, H.G. Gerner, and I'm going to be talking about what's happening with this recent Supreme Court ruling on gerrymandering and how they can't basically gerrymander based on the person or on a particular group's skin color. This is significant. The Democrats have lost their mind. More importantly, what this does, it stops them from being able to use the pulling the race card. But more importantly, I'm going to show you something here in just a second. Arnold Schwarzenegger, back in 2008, when he was the governor of California, put together a commission. Miss Kathy Feng was kind of the spearhead of that. It's a California commission on redistricting. Excuse me. Let me get this right. It is a California Citizens Redistricting Commission, the CCRC. It was basically an independent organization or agency that would do the redistricting without Republican or Democratic over-influence. More importantly, listen to me very carefully. I'm going to show you Arnold Schwarzenegger talking just 6 months ago how gerrymandering has been, massive, I guess what you might say, unfair political tricks using gerrymandering to solidify, for instance, you'll see it when he explains this, how it's basically a political trick. And it's been used for over 200 years. There's an article that was actually in the History Channel. It was put out. It's called How Gerrymandering Began in the United States. Long before it got its name, gerrymandering was already happening in the United States. Stay with me. This is an article by Becky Little. In March 1812, the Boston Gazette ran a political cartoon depicting a new species of monster, the gerrymander. The fork-tongued creature was shaped like a contorted Massachusetts voting district that the state's Jeffersonian Republicans had drawn to benefit their own party. Governor and future Vice President Eldridge Gerry signed off on this party's redistricting plan in February, unwittingly cementing this place in the United States lexicon of underhanded political tricks. Now, here's the thing. They controlled the legislature at that time. Okay. Now, Massachusetts is completely blue. It is not allowing, or what it's done is the legislature is controlling the redistricting after a census. More importantly, they spot, if you go to the map and you, map it out blue and red, you will see little spots of red all over the place, but in specific areas, not a group. More importantly, that takes away the power of the Republicans, I guess what you might say, voting, takes away their voice. Massachusetts, in the 2024 election, thousands of people voted, but over 500,000 Republicans and independents voted in the 2024 congressional election portion of the election. None of them have a representative in Congress. The Democrats have gerrymandered the bejeebers out of Massachusetts and literally taken control because the legislature does the gerrymandering. And they literally wiped out the Republican voice and the independent voice in Massachusetts. They're in the commission here in California. I'm going to go back to California. We have a super majority of legislators here in California. Okay, 47, I think, are Democratic. But more importantly, let me show these. I want to show these Arnold Schwarzenegger take on this. The Citizens Commission the California Citizens Redistricting Commission that was voted on by the people and voted into place by the people in 2008. The Gavin Newsom suspended that organization and pushed, or basically with Proposition 50, it allowed the legislature to redistrict California and literally take the Republicans' voice out of, basically take it away by redistricting, and they could have no group in one specific area. It's a little bit longer. It's a little bit longer discussion, but this is a political trick, and more importantly, it's a violation of the rights or the trust of the American people. I want you to watch this. Hang on with me. All right, here we go. Watch this. Watch him explain it.
Do you believe that the Republican Party is starting this?
No, Jake. There has been gerrymandering going on for 200 years.
Over 200 years.
Such extreme gerrymandering going on that in a state like Massachusetts, it has like 40% of the people voting for Trump. They have 0 representatives. The Republican Party has 0 representatives sent to the House. Think about that. In New Mexico, if 45% of the people voted for Trump and voted Republican, and 0 is sent to the House, 0 representative from the Republican Party. So there's gerrymandering, crazy gerrymandering going on all over the country, and we wanted to try to stop it in California, and we did.
And that's why he put together in 2008 the California Citizens Redistricting Commission. Stay with me. Now, with Proposition 50, it wipes out the independent voice, the commission, the California Citizens Redistricting Commission. It puts them, what Gavin Newsom did is temporarily put them on suspension and pushed the redistricting back to the legislature. And I guarantee you, they're going to try to redistrict and literally wipe out the voice of the Republicans in California. This is a violation of people's trust in California and the United States. But more importantly, here's the thing I want to say. When you have Gavin Newsom usurping the voice of the American people, they voted for the CCRC, California Citizens Redistricting Commission. He basically suspended that. That's a violation of your voice, of your trust, of your rights here in California, the Republicans' rights. We got to get you would have to get an attorney to fight this. Proposition 50 right now is under major scrutiny here in California. But more importantly, this is happening all over California, all over the United States. There are several states in the East, which would call, I guess, the New England area, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Maine, etc. Okay, these states literally have hundreds of thousands of people. Republicans have voted in the elections for their congressmen, hundreds of thousands, and they have no representation in Congress. This is a war. And they're using dirty tricks. And it was kind of funny because back in 1812, the Republicans tried to do it. And now the Democrats have basically waged all-out war. And you have governors like Governor Newsom basically taking away your voice, your vote, by getting rid of the California Citizens Redistricting Commission. That's a violation of your trust. Ladies and gentlemen, the war is being waged. If you go to preservingamerica.epac.com, watch our documentaries about Marxist political warfare.
Okay, that was last night's one. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I got the other videos. We'll do 3 hours tonight because I got to stay up late to watch the games tonight. So Pistons play at 7. So we'll probably do over 3. We might do 3.5 hours, see what happens. We got a lot more to come tonight. So have a good dinner. And see you after dinner. Tim and Lucy with only 2 mods in there today, I think. And God bless everybody. Love all. Please hit like. Stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith. Never give up. Signing off, Chico Do for show number 1 on Taco Tuesday. We'll see you guys around 7.